p.m. on August 14th, 2025, and it is the time and place of the Ada County Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. We extend our welcome to those persons here with us today, as well as anyone joining us online. I'll begin with a roll call of the commissioners. We will excuse Commissioner Blitman, Commissioner Birch. Here. Commissioner Wickstrom. Here. Commissioner Colson.
Here.
Commissioner Murphy.
Here.
I'm sorry, I should have wrote your name down, my bad. Commissioner
Rowley.
Okay, I'm going to write you down. Sorry, we were all back there talking, and I forgot to get your full name. Commissioner Rowley.
Here.
Thank you. And I am Commissioner Scott, and I'll be conducting this meeting this evening. So just some business here. In order for the commission to conduct the hearing in an orderly manner, the following procedures have been established for the hearing of individual applications. Any person wishing to testify should have either signed up or online or signed up in the back there. If not, you can just raise your hand and I will call on you after we go through the lists. If there is anyone online, you can still use the public hearing testimony registration form found on the Ada County Development Services information page. I'll open up the public hearing for applications, and each application will be separately considered pursuant to the following process. The planning staff will present the application in the form of a staff report with the conditions of approval. Commissioners will then ask questions of the staff to clarify their understanding of the application. The applicant will then come forward and be given 15 minutes to present their proposal and respond to questions from the commissioners. Then we'll get testimony with regard to the application and general comments from the audience pertaining to the application. And you'll be limited to 3 minutes. When you come forward, please state your name and address for the record. The staff will then provide some clarification, and then we'll give a rebuttal for the applicant, and the public testimony is concluded. We will then deliberate and vote on any motions that are made. So just before we get started, some additional items. Please refrain from yelling, clapping, and all that stuff, whistling from the crowd. We try to move these things along so that we can have some sort of decorum here. And just please conduct yourself in a respectful manner, golden rule type things. Also, before I move on to reordering the agenda here, since we have the crowd here, I do want to highlight Mr. Letson. He is leaving us. He's been an outstanding planner in keeping us all honest up here. I don't know if we could have done it without him for sure, but we wish him well on his future endeavors at Idaho Power and thank him for his service to both the city at one point and to the county. So thank you, Mr. Letson, for your time here. You're very much appreciated. So. Yeah, go ahead. All right. So just for my fellow commissioners, I want to recommend that it'll be a motion whether you want to or not, but I recommend that we reorder so we can get the two tables out of the way. I know one is unfinished and one is new business. I'm not sure. Does that even require a motion, Leon? Do you know?
That's fine.
No?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioners, you can just remove, you can ask to have unfinished items removed, and then you can reorder the agenda overall.
Okay. All right. If is anyone good with that, with reordering, so the tables go first, and then we'll reorder to. We're also going to reorder in the interest of time, to move the first item that we will hear tonight, the Idaho Power Company, which is Ms. Owens. We'll move that so that because the crowd here is going to. I don't think they want to wait for all of that to go through. So, all right. So with that being said, if there's any objection, we'll go ahead and move it as I've said. Is that fine? We're good? All right. With that being said, we'll go ahead and start with unfinished business. That'll be the first item, which is item 202500469-ZC-DA-S. This is Mike Nuxall. This one, the staff recommends table to September 11th. So I look to a fellow commissioner for a motion.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Murphy?
I move that we table project 202500469-ZC-DA-S to September 11th.
We have a motion for Commissioner Murphy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wickstrom is seconded. No one wants to speak on it, I'm assuming? All right. All those in favor of table the item to September 11th, say aye.
Aye.
Say aye. Motion carries. Next up, I'm going to talk about the new business table recommendation. This is item number 2025-01185-CU-MSP, Seven Gates Investment LP. This one also was a recommendation to table to September 11th. Do I have a motion from a fellow commissioner?
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Murphy.
I'd like to make a motion to table project 2025-01185-CU-MSP, Seven Gates, to September 11th as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Colson, a second. Does anyone want to speak on this? Seeing no one. All those in favor of tabling to September 11th, say aye.
Aye.
I also say aye. That one carries. All right, now that we've reordered, we'll go ahead and move on with our item of new business first, which is the 2025-01243-CU-MSP Idaho, Idaho Power Company. And we look to Ms. Owens for the staff report.
Okay, good evening, Mr. Chair and Commissioners. Tonight, I'm going to be presenting Project 2025-01243, CU-MSP, an application by Idaho Power Company for a conditional use and master site plan approval for an electric transmission line. So the entirety of the proposal is an electric transmission line. It's planning to cross the Elmore-Ada County boundary and connects the recently approved, as of 2022, Pleasant Valley Solar Substation, which you can see is a black square on this slide, within Ada County to a proposed new substation named Mayfield Substation, which is planned to be located within Elmore County. You can see that as the yellow or orange square on this slide. The project is located on the Elmore-Ada County boundary on the two parcels that you can see outlined here in red. The parcels are located west of I-84 north of Monroe Avenue, which runs diagonally. You can see it kind of at the bottom corner of this slide, to the south and east, and it also is located to the east of Orchard Access Road. It's kind of out near Boise Stage Stop. So this is a close-up of the site from a 2022 aerial. The substation location is outlined in the red square. This slide shows a much more updated aerial of the site that includes the existing Pleasant Valley Solar Substation, as well as some solar panels that are located outside of it. The teal hatched line that you can see here, kind of that blue line that runs east-west, that is going to be the location of the easement for the electric transmission line. And that's going to run from the Elmore County boundary, which you can see here in red on the east portion of this slide, over the two properties to connect to the Pleasant Valley Solar Substation, which you can see outlined in yellow here. The easement, as you can see, is proposed to be 100 feet in width. So this project includes a 230 kilovolt transmission line along with evenly spaced transmission poles that are approximately 80 to 100 feet tall on the Ada County portion of this project, which was updated recently by the applicant from the 100 to 200 feet height, which was reflected in the record. The applicant does plan to speak more on the height in their presentation. So this application includes a conditional use permit for the electric transmission line and a master site plan application. The natural features analysis that was submitted by the applicant for this property indicated that this project would be minimally impacted, that this would cause minimal impact via the construction of the transmission line, and that the property has already been developed with some existing energy infrastructure on the site, including those solar panel arrays, as mentioned, and the substation that's located on the parcel to the west. No landscaping or lighting is proposed with this application, nor is any landscaping required by Ada County Code for electric transmission lines. The application was transmitted to relevant agencies, and the following are the comments that were received. So the Ada County Strategic Planning or Long Range Planning found that the project was consistent with the Ada County Comprehensive Plan. The future land use map indicates that this is going to primarily be rangeland with some non-irrigated agriculture, and that agricultural activities would remain possible on the site given the proposed structures that are located overhead and that the easement is only 100 feet wide. The adjacent western parcel contains existing energy infrastructure, limiting agriculture there somewhat, but the project supports planned goals for providing service and utility infrastructure on the site. The building official had no objections, and neither did Idaho Fish and Game. We did receive a couple of late comments, one from the Ada County engineer indicating that the Sunstone pipeline for natural gas is located to the north of this site, and to be aware of it as the footings are placed. In addition, we got some late comments from the State of Idaho or Military Division requesting a little bit more information from the applicant. That was actually received earlier and then added to the record, indicating what the pole height would be. So they have some infrastructure in place nearby, a training site to the southwest, and wanted to know how tall the individual transmission poles were going to be, and that's why the applicant's going to provide a little bit more direction on that in their presentation. But they indicated it'd be 80 to 100 feet as opposed to that 100 to 120 feet we received earlier. No public comments were received on this application. Staff does find that the application complies with Ada County Code and recommends approval of the application to the commission. Just wanted to give you a heads up that the applicant is likely going to request in their presentation that the time allowed for the approval be extended from our traditional 2 years for a hearing item to 5 years, just given that this is a public utility and their timelines change and are dependent on how easily they can install this infrastructure, among other constraints. So the applicant is going to speak to that a little bit more, but I will add this presentation to the record as an exhibit, and I stand for any questions you might have.
Thank you, Ms. Owens. Do any commissioners have any questions for staff? All right. Seeing none, thank you so much.
Mr. Chair.
Oh,
Sorry.
Commissioner Murphy.
Just a quick question. The 5-year, is that atypical or is that common practice?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Murphy, we don't see that very often, but we have approved that in the past for utilities and then Expo Idaho and some other ones where it's a little bit harder to get all of that permitting finished out.
Got it. Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner?
what is the purpose for the request for the 5-year extension to 5 years?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Budgeting thing on their end?
Mr. Chair, Commissioner Rowley, I'll let the applicant speak to their reasons for why they want to extend it somewhat, but it is somewhat common for utilities, just given various constraints on them, but they can speak to it a little bit more clearly.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you very much, Ms. Owens. If there's no more questions, we'll go ahead and invite the applicant forward for their presentation. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 15 minutes.
Thank you, Chair Scott and Commissioners. My name is Jeff Mafuccio with Idaho Power. My address is 1221 West Idaho Street, Boise, Idaho, 83702. Appreciate your time this evening, and I can answer the question about the 5 years now or wait till the end if you'd prefer. But I have a brief presentation, so going to the next slide. Kind of like to start high level and then work our way down to some of the product details. So looking at how our facilities work, our grid overall. We've got generation on the left here, and then systems, apparatus in the middle. That's the transmission station that brings that generation in, transmitted across the grid to smaller distribution stations, and then to residences, businesses, farms, ranches, et cetera. So what we're focused on is kind of in the middle, not the transmission station so much, that's in Elmore County, but the transmission that connects everything. Next slide, please. So what we're looking at is an opportunity to, in the yellow lines are 230 kilovolt transmission lines, so higher voltage than our 138 kilovolt like we have out here behind the courthouse that serve more in the suburban, urban agricultural areas. And we're looking at an opportunity to be able to connect these two paths you see, one that kind of goes south of South Ada County into the Kuna area, and then several that go north into our Boise Bench Station that's located on Amity and Holcomb Road. And so again, it's an opportunity to kind of bridge those together, provides better power flow, better reliability. If say a wildfire comes through, we have to shut a line off, we can route power around. So Pleasant Valley Solar Substation and the Pleasant Valley Solar Project, they built that substation for us to connect their system into their solar project into our system. and it allowed us to have another point of interconnection to, again, create this resiliency. When we speak of resiliency and outage risk, our biggest outage risk here out in this area is wildfire, fast-moving rangeland fires, and it won't damage the poles or steel. The wires are pretty tall, but what can happen is smoke can get up into the insulators and cause arcing, so we may have to turn off those lines sometimes. And we did recently with a fire that blew right through the solar project and didn't cause any damage, just, it's just down on the grass. Next slide, please. So as we zoom in, you can see most of this project is in Elmore County, but there's about a half mile in Ada County. You can, working with landowners, that's why it's not like a straight route like we used to do in the old days. But there's a lot of development going on in this area right off the Simcoe Road exit. Stage Stop is a little bit to the north. And so since we applied, we've acquired all easements in Ada and Elmore County. And then the Mayfield substation, that's going through Elmore County's process. And then the Peregrine Energy Center, maybe you're wondering what that is. We just had our second open house, again, for Elmore County, but that is likely going to be a natural gas facility, again, to serve the demand that we're seeing on our system. But that's not what we're here for tonight. I just thought I'd share it. Next slide, please. So as we zoom in further, you can see this about half-mile transmission line, the structures that would be, likely located in Ada County. That existing diagonal line, that's an existing 230 kV line, so that, again, that's one of the lines we're kind of bridging together. And then to the county engineer's point, the natural gas pipeline is just north, and so as we work through Elmore County, we'll make sure to avoid any issues there. Next slide. And then here are the poles. This is what we're proposing to use. So when we initially submit our application, we're moving pretty quick on this to meet a lot of demands, as you can imagine, with all the growth in the Treasure Valley. And these lines do connect down the Magic Valley, so there's also growth going that way. And so these poles are about 800 feet. They're set up for transmission on both sides in the future, but we're only focused on one side of the pole. And the difference in height is sometimes we'll add distribution lines underneath the transmission. So every time you add a distribution circuit across, you gotta increase your height by 14 feet on average. So when we initially did it, we were working through the design. We weren't sure if we'd have distribution lines on parts of this line, like maybe going up Simcoe Road or across the interstate. So that's where we had that 100 to 120 feet. But we're more defined, and we're at 80 to 100 feet. And that 100 is more likely as you get closer to the interstate. You gotta have enough clearance to get over that area. So these poles, they're about 600 feet apart. They've got they can hold up to 2 transmission line circuits, which are made up of 3 wires. And then we have at the very top, we call it an optical ground wire. And so that's both the fiber for the line itself to communicate from station to station, but also as a grounding mechanism. So it'll carry electricity to the, like lightning electricity to the station or to a grounding point. So it's the tallest thing out there. It'll take the lightning. Next slide. And then just appreciate Michaela's robust staff report. I think we're in agreement to everything. We feel like this does meet the county code. It's in the interest of the county that we are able to continue to develop these projects and implement them. And we've met all the criteria, and we'll meet all the conditions of approval. And so with that, the 5 years is a typical request that we make, and that's based on it. We have about a 3-year cycle from when we start a project, when we kick it off, which was this past May, to when we start to energize it or complete it. And so things can happen that make that slip out, whether it's a deferral due to cost or material is difficult to obtain. As you can imagine, steel is difficult to obtain across the country. Prices are going up, so we're trying to secure them at a low cost within the country. And then there's other things that just happen over time that can cause things to get pushed out, products get pushed out a little bit. So we expect to be complete within 5 years, but 2 years is a little tight. And I know we can come in for extensions. It just be nice to not have to do that. That's it.
Thank you. Any questions for the applicant from the commission? Chair Wickstrom?
So the 5 years is just there's some padding in there, but you see it possibly 2 to 3 years, or you see it
Yeah.
going in shorter than that.
Yeah.
And this is the last leg of bringing that transmission line in. If everything in Elmore County is going smoothly.
Well, I actually would say this is the first leg because we submitted both applications at the same time, and they're still, they're a lot more constrained on staff, so they're still in their review process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. And don't worry, I won't make Leon come back here to Ada County.
All right. Well, if there's no further questions from the commission for the applicant, I'll invite anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this. There's no one signed up for this other than the applicant. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to come forward to speak on this matter? All right. Seeing none, I'll go ahead and turn it back over to staff for any additional questions from the commission.
What is the wording again? It's a waiver, or what's the 5 year? What exactly is the wording? What is it called exactly?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Wickstrom, I believe we would just change the standard that's at the beginning of the conditions of approval, where it reads that it will have 2 years for the applicant to finish those conditions of approval and receive their permits. We're just going to edit that to be 5 years.
You know which condition that is?
It's not a condition in particular, Commissioner. It's just what we put at the top of our conditions of approval. So you can just indicate in your decision that you'd like to extend that time frame to 5 years instead of 2, and it's an administrative change that I can make on those findings as long as the commission is in support.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions? All right. With that, if the applicant would like to come forward again for rebuttal, all right. Sounds good. We'll go ahead and close the open portion of this, of the hearing for this item, and I invite a motion from one of my fellow commissioners in favor or against.
Mr. Chair?
Commissioner Murphy, you're on fire tonight.
Based upon the findings of facts and conclusions of law contained herein and the testimony from the public hearing, the commission approves project 202501-243-CO-MSP, amending the duration to 5 years and subject to the conditions of approval attached as Exhibit A and the master site plan dated received July 24, 2025 in Exhibit 9.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Rowley has seconded. Commissioner Murphy, do you want to speak on your motion?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward kind of conditional use. Agency comments are clearly defined. There's no public comments. It looks like it makes sense to help with the overall power integrity of the county, so it kind of makes sense.
Thank you. Commissioner Rowley, do you want to speak to your second at all?
Just to echo the other commissioners' comments, it seems like a prudent project to move forward with, even with the 5-year extension to completion. And again, without any opposition, nor could I find anything objectionable in the findings of fact.
Thank you so much. Any additional comments from fellow commissioners? All right. Seeing none, we'll go ahead and bring Commissioner Murphy's motion to a vote. All those in favor of Commissioner Murphy's motion, say aye.
Aye.
Also say aye. All those opposed? Seeing none, the motion carries. Thank you so much for everyone involved in that one. We'll go ahead and move on to our next item of business. This is unfinished business, which is item 2024-02701-PC-CPA. This is SVP LLC, and we look to Mr. Letson for the staff report.
All right. Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. So the item before you is the Phase 1 application for the comp plan amendment and plan community application for the Shadow Valley Plan Community. You heard this first on June 12th and tabled for a number of items that we'll review here shortly and the applicant will be able to speak to. Before we jump into that, I'll just, for the benefit of the new commissioner and maybe folks that don't remember June 12th as well, I'll kind of go over the project a little bit and state some of the standards that we evaluate these communities by, or these applications by. So first off, here's the general location. It's Highway 55. There's a portion on the east around the Shadow Valley Golf Course, and then the portion to the west of Highway 55, more up in the foothills. It is a 395 home project on 560 acres. As discussed last time, it is placed between and in close proximity to a number of other planned communities in the area. We've got the Dry Creek Ranch planned community to the south, which is at build out of 1,815 homes. Avamore to the north, which a portion is still in our jurisdiction, but the majority is in Eagle, will be about 10,000 homes. And then the Hidden Springs project, which is the oldest planned community-like development that we have to the southeast at 1,765 homes. So just some context as to what's happening in the area. Obviously, there are a lot of larger lots and more rural open spaces, but we have a lot of these planned community developments occurring in the area as well. So as I mentioned before, there's two portions of the development. The section around the golf course called Estates East, or Golf Course Estates East. That is going to be 306 housing units and 12.5 acres of commercial land uses. And I'll get to where those are here shortly, but primarily on the golf course and then an existing commercial use on Brookside Lane. Then the portion across Highway 55 to the northwest is going to be 89 detached single-family homes on 118 acres. So here is the land uses proposed for the development. Again, just to remind you, the smaller lot development product type will be around the golf course. That's the RML and RM residential. And then the larger lot, more estate-like development on 1 to 5 acre lots will be northwest of Highway 55. So pictured up here with a considerable amount of more natural open space versus the developed open space of the golf course in the southern piece. In terms of product type, and I'll go over this because this was something that was discussed a lot last time in terms of the types of housing that will be incorporated into the development. So predominantly it will be single-family detached homes. The other product type they are asking for is what we call attached single-family. And so those are 2 units on their own lot with a shared wall. So those are the 2 product types that are being proposed. The reason why that's important will be made a little bit more clear here in a second. But again, majority of the two unit stuff is closer to the golf course. And again, on the smaller of the lots, though pretty substantial in size compared to some of the other developments around here. And the large estate stuff, again, is to the northwest of Highway 55. I mentioned the commercial. So around the golf course clubhouse, there is some existing commercial now, and the proposal is to provide some more commercial opportunity around that clubhouse in the future if this is ultimately approved. And then, as I mentioned before, the Stone Crossing Event Center, which is an existing event center, currently is entitled to have 550 guests maximum for weddings and other events. And so this just some clarification as to the discussion last time. These are commercial uses in place right now. The planned community approval would allow them to do more with that if ultimately the zoning code portion or phase 2 of this is approved. But those are already entitled projects. So regardless of the approval here tonight, Stone Crossing is still going to be there, and so are the uses around the golf course. There's also the civic space that was discussed last time. This is that bus shelter space requested by West Ada School District. Normally with planned communities, we see something like a school site request. Given the size of this one and other requests that have been granted in the area and those other planned communities that I highlighted initially, West Ada School District just wants something for its bus facilities more than actual students themselves. And there will be, I believe, a police substation here as well. The applicant can clarify that when they come up to speak to you. So I feel like the last meeting, we could have spent more time maybe talking about the application before you and what part of the code we have to review. Planned community sub-area development regulations, I highlighted the key points here. So the purpose of that section is to provide processes and development standards for the development of planned communities to allow urban type development. So there was a lot of talk about, hey, we need 5, 10-acre lots here. That would not be appropriate largely for a planned community. The idea is more of a Dry Creek Ranch, Hidden Springs, Avamore style development, which is again smaller footprint homes, smaller lots. So really the big question to you is a planned community appropriate here? Not should we incorporate 10-acre lots into a planned community? Because that, again, really those are kind of incompatible things based on what the code is asking for. Now, granted, there are some exceptions. You could certainly request certain portions of that development have larger lots, but you'll see some standards down here under the housing section that kind of work against that. So the first is that there should be a minimum net density goal of 3 residential dwelling units per acre in any planned community. This project is not meeting that. It is 0.6 dwelling units per acre. So this project already is seeking a waiver to our minimum density standards for planned communities. So just again, something to keep in mind in terms of the intensity of this development. There's also the requirement that multifamily housing be provided at a minimum of 10%, that workforce housing be provided at a minimum of 15% of the for sale product. And just to give you some sense of what that is, at the 120% level, that'd be a family of 3 making 118 grand a year, basically, is what the workforce housing requirement would be in terms of the product made available through the planned community ordinance. There's also a component for rental housing, which says a minimum of 30% for multifamily housing should be available to households earning up to 80%, which would be for a family of 3, again, about 77,000. So the applicant has requested waivers to all of these, which are certainly allowed. The planned community development standards allow the applicant to say, I don't want to provide multifamily housing. I don't want to provide workforce housing or rental housing or meet that minimum density standard. And they have requested waivers to all those. So just keep that in mind as you consider the application. There are a number of standards in our code that push for a variety of product type available to a variety of economic levels, socioeconomic or more economic levels. In terms of the commercial, again, waivers were requested there. Normally we require a mixed-use district. In the Dry Creek Ranch project to the south, for example, there's a large mixed-use district that envisions both residential and commercial development occurring kind of in the same area. They have requested a waiver to that, and so they will not have any of those mixed-use districts, mix of housing and commercial in the same spot. They do have some commercial proposed, but it's in its own unique located portion of the development. In terms of employment, again, the idea of these is we want to create self-sustaining communities as much as possible. So you want to provide services and job opportunities in the community for the people living there, which is important for this next item, which is trip capture. So the idea of trip capture is you build a development where people don't have to drive outside of the development as much as possible to get the things that they need. Oftentimes this is a grocery store. This is other services in the form of, I don't know, a barber shop or a daycare or something to that effect. The code requires a 15.7% internal trip capture. This project is not going to meet that. And so again, another waiver is being requested of that. And it's again, because of the limited commercial that they're incorporating and the other commercial opportunities that are being integrated through the Dry Creek Ranch proposal and Avamore and others. So I just wanted to kind of zero in on this because I think these are important standards to keep in mind as you consider the application. Because again, it's not an application for a straight residential subdivision. It's an application for a planned community. And so these are the standards that staff had to review their request against. And again, they've asked for a lot of waivers, so which all can be granted by the board. So now back to what you asked for, and the applicant will speak to these in more detail when they have a chance to present to you. But you asked for additional details on agreements that were pending or made for water and wastewater with surrounding property owners. As a reminder, this development will provide its own community systems to serve its project, and they've mentioned the opportunity for surrounding neighbors to connect, if that's something that they need, and obviously the details of that is subject to the developer and those homeowners. You asked for additional detail on proposed roadway improvements. There was some concern about the existing roadways in the Spring Creek Estates area that, the access in and out of that neighborhood currently from Highway 55 is pretty challenging. And you just asked for some more detail about how this would function with that existing neighborhood. You also asked for some additional numbers or projections on the number of school-aged children within the proposed development. The staff report did include those numbers. It was estimated 109 school-aged children would be ultimately living in this community at some point, which sounds like a lot, but per West Data, that's not enough to rise to the level of a new school site or anything like that, just that bus facility that we mentioned before. You asked for some additional details on the density and housing types of the proposed development, so I've spent a little bit of time on that there, but the applicant's going to give you more details. And then finally, additional details on the commercial area proposed for that existing Stone Crossing Event Center. In terms of agency comments, these were provided to you last time. In general, no concerns from agencies reviewing the project other than the city of Boise and having a position of not wanting planned communities in general, and made a comparable comment here, similar to the Spring Rock project and other planned communities that have come to the county in the past. But all other reviewing agencies, they provided conditions of approval, but no critical failure in terms of their ability to say yes to that project. In terms of public comments, these also were shared with you last time, and we have received several additional comments which were included in the packet. In general, it's centered around the protection of wildlife and wildlife habitat, concerns about increased traffic, again, loss of natural open space and habitat for wildlife. There was concern about some lighting around the Shadow Valley Golf Course. I think that was expressed or spoken to a little bit last time by the applicant, but they can certainly touch on that again here tonight. And also just access onto Highway 55, which again continues to be a challenge for properties in the area. There was some concern about requested lots smaller than 10 acres in size. And this one was, I think, particular to the Foothills West. Let me get the name of that again. Foothills Estates West. There's a large lot down by Highway 55 that had been discussed quite a bit, and the applicant should be able to speak to that, but I believe they're planning to leave that as is versus develop it now with smaller lots. And then finally, again, the Stone Crossing Event Center, and just concerns about the existing use of that, or that existing event center and how it's been operated and what this looks like moving forward in the future, and just concerns about additional noise, parking, things like that. Again, all things that the applicant can speak to in their comments to you. So in conclusion, staff continues to recommend approval and ask the Planning and Zoning Commission to recommend approval to the board, and I'll stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Letson. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Birch?
Mr. Letson, when we heard this 2 months ago, one of the reasons that we tabled it for 2 months was we were hoping that with the widespread opposition to the people that are in the area, that the developer and the people would get together and compromise on some of the issues that were of concern to those people that would basically be neighbors of this Shadow Valley development. How does what is presented tonight differ from what was presented 2 months ago?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioners, in terms of the actual development and its layout, I don't believe there are any changes. The applicant can speak to that in greater detail. I know that they went out and had some conversations about the water, wastewater hookups and different things like that, but in terms of the number of units, the lot sizes, the layout of the project, that remains the same. And so I'd have the applicant speak to that for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Birch. Any additional questions? Commissioner Wickstrom?
Thank you, Mr. Letson. In a planned community like that, you're talking about trip capture and providing employment and services so that people aren't having to travel outside. That falls upon the developer to try to bring that in there. And right now, all I see is the food trucks that were going to be there at the golf course, the little bit of the restaurant possibly there at Stone Crossing, but really not much else besides that. There's no level of that they need to come to in order to provide that service?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioner, I think you're referring to this slide here that, again, the mixed use district, normally there's a minimum of 5,000 square feet of a mixed use per 1,000 residents. They've asked to not do that. Again, they have existing commercial uses and they want to enhance some of those commercial areas with additional, like I believe they mentioned coffee shops or boutique hotel or something to that effect. So there is interest in enhancing those and adding more to them. But they have asked for a waiver to the mixed use. And then in terms of an employment center, again, employment will be available on site, but nothing to the level of a office park or industrial park or anything like that. So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional questions of staff? All right, thank you, Mr. Letson. We'll go ahead and invite the applicant forward for their presentation. Please state your name, state your name and address, as well as you'll have 15 minutes for your presentation.
Let me get this to the presentation.
Oh, where's the button?
Do we have the chart right there?
Kirsten Dietrich, 16 Lost River Drive, McCall. I'm the planning consultant for Shadow Valley Plan Community. Okay, thank you. Okay, so as Leon mentioned, our presentation tonight is going to address Commissioner and community question and answer comments from our last public hearing. Thank you for taking the time to review our application again tonight. So first up is roadways. There was considerable concern about the traffic impacts in this area. They have some specific issues over here on the east side, so that's what this map is focused on. This area was subdivided for the Spring Creek subdivision historically, and they have a real pinch point on that West Spring Creek Way that takes you down to Highway 55. The new development plans to put in two types of roadways. So the new implementation of a roadway is a public roadway system through the development, through the Shadow Valley Plan community development. Then our project anticipates improvements of the private roadways, which are shown in purple there, which there's two private roadways that would dead end. So it's West Spring Creek Way takes you up the hill there, and then there's North Spring Creek Way, Spring Creek Lane, which is from Brookside Lane up on the Dry Creek side. So the new extension is what would be public right of way, and that's I'm calling it the Malheur Avenue extension because that's what the avenue is called across Brookside Lane from Dry Creek. So there was the mention of eminent domain in the last public hearing, and I need to address that because the definition of that is the power of governments to acquire property for public use by paying the owner a just compensation. We're not a government, we're a developer. There's no eminent domain as part of this project. This is all private land that's proposed to be developed for housing and improved roadways. And it's important to note that this development is paying for itself. So there's been a lot of kind of public outcry about how could this development happen. Well, the development is going to come in and pay for municipal infrastructure. It's going to pay for a wastewater treatment plant. It's going to pay for a potable water municipal system. It's going to pay for improved private roadways, and it's going to pay for a brand new public roadway. Let's see, the roadway stuff is pretty critical because it also provides a much needed safer access to Highway 55. So folks that live on the north end where there's Stack Rock Drive folks, Spring Creek folks, they're going to be able to drive through the Shadow Valley development to go get in a signaled intersection on Brookside Lane to enter the highway instead of trying to take a scary left turn onto the highway or a scary right turn onto the highway. So it provides a much needed connection through the new housing development. And as I mentioned before, along the roads, there's improvements that will happen. So there's shoulder improvements, there's going to be landscaping, there'll be sidewalks and connectivity. Uh-oh. Can you make it go?
Oh, it's all frozen. I don't know.
Okay, so the next thing, I just mentioned it, but setbacks and road shoulders. So up at this intersection on the north end, this is what it currently looks like. That is where it's a private roadway, and there's a kind of extensive shoulder up to a private property line. One of the public comments was about, are you gonna take out our trees? No, we're not gonna take out the trees. There will be improvements done on the shoulder of the roadway. The roadway will be improved up to private property lines. And as we get through our next part of the application, we would work with individual homeowners on the plan up against their property lines. Can you do the next slide? So the 11-acre lot, this is an easy one. We just clearly are not changing that lot at all. It's going to remain one 11-acre lot. So that was the public comment from the Somber Canyon neighbors. They were concerned about having increased density on their side of the highway, and that's not going to happen. So water was the other big question. The the water application was extensively addressed in our application. That process is ran through the Idaho Department of Water Resources. While IDWR still permits individual wells and supports their use in rural areas, the agency and state legislation are increasingly promoting municipal or community systems in urbanizing regions and subdivisions. So that is this zone. We're in a growing part of the county. Individual water wells and individual septic systems are no longer as appropriate as they once were. This is part of a broader effort to protect groundwater and improve water quality and oversight and ensure sustainable water use for long term. So the map up here shows the proposed municipal water system and how it would generally route through the two subdivision areas on the east and west. And then highlighted here in an enlargement is where the water system would stop up on Stack Rock Drive, or towards Stack Rock Drive. So next slide there. So there was also public question or commissioner questions about the existing drain field. So there was a historical septic drain field that existed on private property. There was an easement that granted rights to that drain field on this other private property. There's 4 lots that have rights to that drain field, but only 1 home is currently tied into the drain field. The drain field will have to be relocated as part of the project. It can't remain where it is. Our team noticed those 4 lot owners via letter. And, when we notice people, it's important to understand that we can easily see their legal name and address, but we don't have a main point of contact. So if they're a trust or they live out of state, we have to rely on them getting back to us to engage with them personally. So we've noticed those folks and we've said, hey, your drain field needs to relocate. You have the option to either remain on the septic drain field or you can transfer to the municipal system when it's available. Either way, there's probably some interim drain field solution that has to occur, and they have the right to that via the current easement. So we're working through that and would continue to work through it in a phase 2 application. So next slide. Wildlife movement was also brought up. So through this development, I've highlighted in the bright green, those are areas where we don't have housing blocks. So there's extensive area for wildlife to range through the development. And I don't know if anyone lives in the foothills here, but basically your yard becomes a wildlife buffet. So if wildlife is ranging through this area, it's going to continue to range through the area. The elk hang out on the golf course. They go there for water and for food, and they cross the highway and then they come back. That'll continue. We have done our due diligence to communicate with Idaho Fish and Game, the Bureau of Land Management. We've also coordinated with the Golden Eagle Audubon Society. And those key standard language items like no perimeter fencing, pet management, things that can fold into our CCRs, that's all being taken into consideration and will be written into future CCRs with the next planned community application. It's important to note on that, the developed open space and the natural open space with this particular application is incredible. I would say that you're probably going to be very unlikely to see 279 approximate acres of open space in development applications. So while there's been a lot of noise about how this application is too dense, or it's too this, it's too that, this application is providing a very large metric of open space in a foothill environment. And it's going to create a jewel of an opportunity for people to recreate on trails and for wildlife to continue to move through the housing areas. So next. Okay, so doubling back on our neighbor coordination, I just want to speak about that for a minute because we've gone above and beyond to be available to people, but we can't fix everyone's gripe. We have set up a website where we've given all the information about our application. We've provided as much information as we can about the hearing process and how our application would move through. We've given kind of newsletter emails to the people that came to our neighborhood meetings and signed and gave us their emails. We've noticed people for the drain fields. Everyone that was impacted for water through the IDWR process was noticed about the water system. Per the code, we had to do newspaper postings, public sign postings, letters. That all started back in November. And then as we've met people, we've individually met with them. If folks are willing to meet with us, we have met with them at their homes and heard their concerns. So to give you some examples of considerations that were made, Larry has individually met with folks that were concerned about their wells and wanted to hook up to the municipal system. It takes time to create a municipal system. That piece and the detail thereof happens in the next application. But we're pre-meeting with people to make sure if they want to hook up to the system, that we can allow them to do that. We've also met with a neighbor that had concerns about how close the housing was to their existing house. And Larry has offered to create a landscape buffer for that person that provides them a little bit more of a it's a better situation for them, because this is a big project and we understand that it's changing an environment and a space out there. So again, I would say, like, we're here to work with the neighbors who care about building an inclusive and thriving community that complies with Ada County Code and comprehensive plan, and also Idaho state law. However, we cannot, enable behaviors that conflict with the principles of equitable planned community code, community planning, and legal zoning standards. So there's certain people we're not going to win over the hearts and minds of, and we understand that. But what's on the table today is this land mass suitable for development? And via our application, the hundreds of pages of engineering reporting that we've done for wildlife and water and wastewater, and then geotechnical investigation, soils investigation, neighbor outreach, like, it's all in your staff report. It's in the findings of fact. And staff has recommended approval for very specific reasons. So we're hoping that you'll see that today. So next slide. So we don't have the privilege of seeing what staff's presentation is before the hearing. So there's some stuff that is a little bit overlapping with what Leon already covered, but there was a fair amount of misconception and misuse of terminology from the last hearing that spun off into other kind of conversations in the public. And I just want to hit on that again to confirm that there's not multifamily housing is part of this application. It's all single family housing. And this is an example, the next couple slides are an example of the product type that this development group puts forth. It's a beautiful product type. It does have a duplex home option, which is still a single family offering. So high density housing was another term that was also used that I just want to clarify that's not part of this. Per Ada County Code, the housing here is that we're suggesting in our application is low density, medium low density housing, and some estate housing on the west side. So next slide there. So this again is another example. This is a duplex that has one shared wall, but it's very much a single family housing unit. Next slide. This is another image of a community that the developer has done, showing duplexes, which are single family owned in a standard single family lot arrangement, and what that massing looks like. So I just want to again highlight that we cannot introduce any restriction that violates state law. So the state legislature has been pretty clear on Idaho land rights in terms of renting and things of that nature. And so our application speaks to Ada County Code and the state law. Maybe one more. So again, just to circle back on kind of the point of why we're here today, pursuant to, the Planning and Zoning Commission has a duty per code. And I myself had to go back and look at this and think, okay, what would I do if I were you looking at this? So the question today is this application, is this area suitable for development? It is completely surrounded by developed land. And pursuant to the study of previous and existing conditions, trends, desirable goals and objectives, or desirable future situations, the Commission shall prepare, implement, review, and make subsequent recommendations for amendments to the comprehensive plan as set forth in Idaho Code. So really, the question today is this suitable to make for housing? Can we make more housing here? Well, your comp plan has already extended out to this zone. And our reporting has found that it is suitable for housing. And so I hope that we've been able to answer your questions today. And with that, I'm happy to answer any additional ones.
Thank you so much. Do we have any questions for the applicant? Commissioner Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Mrs. Dietrich, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for coming here today. I just wanted to go over the east, because I think Mr. Letson achieved a number of 0.6 acres per 3 dwelling. Okay. Does that take into consideration the larger west portion? Is that all lumped into one number? Is that how that number 0.6 was derived?
Yes, because this is all one application, and the east and west are part of one planned community application, or right now it's a comprehensive plan and text amendment application, but yes, that metric, the amount of units that we're providing across all the acreage equates to 0.6 units per acre. The code asks for 3. And so I'm glad you asked that. It's a very important thing to understand. I felt like we received a lot of question regarding why we're doing what we're doing. And in the last hearing, it wasn't clear, but I think Leon did a really good job of explaining it. Like our application spoke to the Ada County Code and the requirements of the planned community application. And we're asking for waivers because our zoning criteria, our density, we're trying to bridge a gap between what exists out there and what we want to bring in. If we were trying to maximize density, we'd get rid of the golf course. If we were trying to make all the money in the world, that golf course would be gone, right? That's not the plan here. The plan here is we're keeping a dual community recreational facility.
Do you know do you know what the density is for the eastern portion, just by itself?
We could probably do the quick math. I don't know it off the top of my head.
It's all right. Excuse me. It's 0.2 is the number. Okay, that was all. I just wanted to figure it out. Thank you.
Any additional questions? Commissioner Burt?
With respect to the concerns that have been expressed by the neighbors, if you were listing them, what would be the top 3 that were expressed in order?
The top 3, I think we heard multifamily, concern for multifamily housing, concern for high-density housing, and concern for, I don't know, it's probably a tie for wildlife and traffic, I think. But I mean, it's a hard one to say, like, what people's concerns are. There was a lot of, it's not really clear to me if it's anti-development sentiments or if those are the true thoughts there, so.
When they raised the high-density concerns, was the concern what the homes would look like, or was the concerns who would be in those homes? Was there any discussion of whether or not those homes would turn into verbos or rental properties?
I can't speak to that. I mean, I have the comments that were submitted by letter. The folks that were willing to meet with us didn't have those concerns. So the verbal conversations that we had didn't surround those kinds of things. It surrounded water and buffers and things that we've accommodated. None of the folks that we've provided our information to that oppose the community have taken us up on actually meeting with them.
Thank you.
Any additional questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rowley?
Hi. With respect to roadway improvements or additions, you talked about, I'll call it an access road kind of on the the east side of the eastern development. And if I understood you correctly, that was basically to funnel people from the north side of that down to Brookside Lane where they would be able to get onto 55 at a traffic signal. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. A lot of the public comments that I read just talked about general congestion on 55 and in addition to access to 55. Is the developer planning on doing any other improvements as far as lane widening or that kind of thing, or is that all in ACHD's court?
So the two jurisdictions that have the authority are ITD and ACHD. And we have received early kind of comment, the way it happens, the process, we've received early comment memos for them that indicate the anticipated improvements based on our traffic impact study. And they have indicated some improvements on the highway as well as roadway improvements throughout our development. The way that works is basically they give us their Christmas list and we're tied to it. So there will be, through the next application, the way that your code works is that we spell out the detail of our pre-plat and the roadways, and they review it, and we get the detailed list of improvements that have to occur.
Do you have any knowledge about the timing of those improvements that ITD or ACHD plans for 55 vis-à-vis your actually starting to sell homes on these properties?
Those improvements, it all is tied to the phasing. So through our next application process, we will be required to improve roadways with the phases of our plat.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Commissioner Riley. Any additional questions for the applicant? Commissioner Wickstrom?
Mr. Did you have something?
No, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Thank you for being here. Just one quick question on that. With all the waivers that you're asking for, it seems to be contrary to the goals of a planned community. How would you, I mean, you want to bring, keep everybody as close as you can for employment, services, whatnot, but you're asking for waivers from all that. Is there something that can be done to help improve that?
Well, I think the planned community, our only option for an application is the planned community process in Ada County. So we have to go through the planned community process to do any amount of subdivision in this zone. And we felt that asking for those specific waivers would help us better fit a subdivision, a community within the existing construct of what's there. We have the golf course, we have existing rural residential estate lots. There's already community outcry about housing, right? If we put in a mixed-use block, or we put in extensive commercial, or we did some of these other things that are optional or asked of us in the planned community process, there would be more community outcry. And so I think what we've proposed in our application is the best mix of things that fit for that zone. I think Dry Creek has experienced some of the same kind of outcry, like it's too dense, it's too commercial, it's too much, And so we came in here thinking that we put together a pretty good meld of both things. We have estate lots, we have a small amount of neighborhood commercial. And to answer Leon's question from before, that civic space, it's really just office space for a sheriff. It's office space for the bus guy. It's a book drop for the library. It's a blue box for USPS, that kind of thing. So it's more of a boutique planned community application that we've provided, and we feel like that is the best we can do to meet the code and kind of meet the community where it's at. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Any additional, Commissioner Birch?
Some of the concerns that were expressed relate to the permanence of the golf course. And if my memory serves me correctly, and Commissioner Wickstrom could correct me here if I'm wrong, there was a golf course on Highway 16 between Star and Eagle on the west side of the road, near where the winery is. That's gone, isn't it, Commissioner Wickstrom? Didn't that turn into housing?
No, it's still there.
It's still there? There was a lot of discussion about that going away and being turned into housing. What assurances can the developer give to the people in the area that this golf course will permanently remain there?
I can answer that, or I could have Larry Kine that owns it speak for himself. Is that okay?
Yes, that's
Okay.
fine.
Larry Kine. So that, I think I mentioned last time, but that golf course has basically been in the same family since its origination. And when that golf course was done, it was done in two phases, the front nine and the back nine. And the front nine was done by the community. So people came in from Eagle and helped them rake rocks to go make that golf course. That's the last thing I'm ever going to go do, is take out a golf course that was built by the community. So in our plan, what we're doing is we're creating that as an open space that with the next phase of what that is that space is always protected forever. So that's just like our other open space that's required on there. And so that is not going away. In addition, what I'm doing to make sure that that golf course doesn't go away and is profitable, because that's what happens, is when a golf course is not profitable, then people look to go do things with it to go turn that into a profit if it's not profitable. First of all, that golf course is very profitable. It already makes good money. But to enhance that, to go make sure that it continues to be a good asset, the water company and the sewer company will be owned by that, giving it additional income to the golf course. And in addition, the water that we're taking out of the ground for the municipal homes, and we're doing that in a reuse, goes back over to the golf course and is reused on the golf course. And so the water usage that we're going to use by all these houses is minimal. When you go through the process of a membrane system, you're recapturing 95 to 97% of the water that goes through the home. So that comes back over, goes and gets treated, that goes into our irrigation ponds, which is only about 10% of our total irrigation use, and then that goes back on the property. So the water usage that we're going to use for all of these homes is so minimal that it's, negligible at best.
Hey, I'm going to tell you one time, if I hear any swearing, I will eject you from this hearing. Do you understand? I will not tolerate that. And so our plan is to always have that golf course remain there. That's a big aspect. I think several years ago it was named the best public golf course in Idaho. And so we have no intentions of it under our watch, and then in the next phase, that's where we'll get that, where it's actually secured forever.
So,
As far as what was a question that was asked earlier, I'd like to clarify it. We have approximately 250 acres on the east side where the golf course is, and we have roughly 306 home sites. So that's closer to what is required in the code than the overall project. It's not 0.2, it's closer to 2.
So, Mr. Kine, I'm assuming that there is a legal mechanism that could be set up to, notwithstanding what you've said about the desire to preserve the golf course, that would actually prevent you from doing anything with the golf course. Would the developer be willing to do what is legally required to prevent that from happening?
So last time you were here, you asked me a question about turning down the music, right? And I was very blunt and very thing. I have no intentions of having the golf course go away, so absolutely I would.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Kine.
Chairman Commissioners also weigh in on that. It's subject to the plan community approval, so it's now a required amenity and can't be changed without coming back through the plan community process and redoing the whole entitlement for the project. So
Part of the open space too, isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't it considered part of the, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. One other thing that I'll just add about the wildlife is we're not putting any fences over in on the east side. So wildlife will travel through not only the corridors that were shown there, but, where I live in an urban environment, the deer run right by all the houses. So there will be no fences there. That detracts from, people's views of the golf course and the surrounding hills, and so there will be no fences allowed in the project. Any further questions?
Any additional questions? I do have a couple questions myself. I don't know whichever of the two of you would like to answer, but the first one, just broadly, the density near the golf course, what would it look like relative to Dry Creek, which is just to the south of it? Like, is it going to be roughly the same density, or is it going to be more dense, less dense, just for my understanding? Because I know that we broadly showed the big lots up north and to the east, but I'm just curious what you're envisioning. Is it going to be all crammed together like Dry Creek is just below?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit, I'll give you hopefully a real clear answer. Dry Creek has some bigger lots, but then they have much bigger homes on those lots, so it feels like it's pretty dense when you go through there. Our project has slightly smaller houses, so I think it's going to feel very much similar to what Dry Creek has down there along the golf course. Now, we do have some massive areas of open space that's intermingled in that, is what our plan is. This isn't really the time that goes through that. for looking at that, but that is our plan that we're going to have, is significant open space on that side too, with amenities of pickleballs and frisbee golf and trails and all sorts of things like that.
So just for my kind of education and understanding, the waivers you guys are requesting are because you're trying to be less intrusive than what would be a traditional planned community? Because we've seen planned communities, one that's going to be just north of Cuna that is pretty intense. So what the waivers you're asking for is to be less intense than what normally would a planned community be, is that correct?
There's several things that, you know, I'll talk frankly about it, is one, you don't see those other commercial aspects in planned communities do well until the rooftops are there. So those commercial aspects need the rooftops to support the commercial uses. And if you look at Dry Creek and you look at even Avamore, you know, they're starting to come together, but they're really struggling. When we went to staff and we went and got our consultants, they were like, your 300 is not going to go support that. You're better off to not go do that and ask for a waiver. And then in addition to that, the topography of ours is somewhat different than the topography of theirs. Ours are mostly all rolling hills, or where we have flat is where the golf course is. And so a commercial aspect in this project was going to be difficult to go do and would be at the very, very tail end of it, and maybe not even happen then until a bunch of the other communities around there got developed further, because that's what you need for that commercial aspect. And then I was really thinking that the commercial that we ended up having there that would be supporting it would be very unimpactful because it was there before most all the other houses in Dry Creek were there. So that's why we focused on the commercial aspects that were already there with the golf course and enhancing that with some food trucks and making it a better facility for people to go after golf and hang out and do that, or the community to walk to it. And then what I heard with what's the name of the? Stone Crossing. They've already got an impact over there, and they wanted to go do things that I thought would be more impactful for the neighbors over there, where it's food preparation, be it meals that are already pre-done, or a little cafe or a boutique hotel. I think that fits in much better, and it just fits better. So that's what that waiver is. The other waiver about the density, you know, it's not really appropriate for, our property doesn't set up for high density, and I just didn't think that was appropriate.
Okay. So I saw it's going to be a future phase, but it does somewhat impact decision-making here with regard to the roads. You have that road that's going to run through your community that's going to put you south to Brookside. I did see that you guys are going to eventually do some improvements on 55 with some turns and whatnot. One of the concerns, though, is Spring Creek Way itself. The gap that's going to run between where your guys' brand new public roads are going to go and Highway 55, that road isn't necessarily set up for that kind of additions. Is there anything in a future phase that you're planning on doing? It's kind of actually where that white sign is, frankly, up at the northern side, where you junction from your public road that you're building and that gap that's going to go down to Highway 55. Do you have any plans to do anything with that? Any kind of improvements? Understand that you may not know yet because you might be told to do some improvements by ACHD, but are you guys anticipating that?
You know, we've met with several people over there on Spring Creek and those roads, and they're all very, very excited about coming through. And we've also given them, the people that we've met have been excited about that. The people that we haven't met, you'll hear from, I guess, in a moment. But they were concerned with the traffic. After our meeting here, I met with several of them in the lobby, and their concerns that met with me were gone. As soon as they knew that they could get all the way through and get to Brookside, they were actually very happy about that, because it is treacherous to get out there, especially on the weekends when all the traffic's going up and down 55. The other concerns along there was mostly the water. Those wells up there are failing, you know, to some extent already, and they were worried that when we were taking more water out, which I explained to them that we really aren't taking that much more water out, I'm I proposed that I would go at our expense to take water through that neighborhood and have it stubbed to each one of them so they could hook up at their leisure for if they ever had a problem with their wells. That alleviated everything, because if they don't have any problems, they never need to hook up. If they do have a problem, it's already right there, and they can just hook up and then pay whatever the PUC rate is for that water system. When we talk to the people about the drain field that's right there, like we said, there's only one house that's on there. I honestly don't think that if those other 3 vacant homes went into the county to try to go use a community drain field, that they would be allowed to do it. So we made one that's actually, if you look at that slide, much, much bigger, that could handle all 4 of those homes, which the one that's currently there in the easement is not that big. And then we also were giving them all the opportunities to be able to hook up to the system if they chose.
So
As far as, back to your road question, on Spring Creek, on the side that comes up from Brookside, that's a very steep road. It exceeds 10% grade on that. So we will be rebuilding that. Right now, there is no maintenance on that road. It's just done by the homeowners up there. They've got to plow it themselves. They do crack sealing on it themselves. They do all of that. We're going to go take that road and rebuild that on the Brookside to come back up, and we're going to swing it further to the west, lowering the grade of that. And mainly so the houses that are up there higher, they have a bigger buffer on that. And so then those houses and that road are significantly down below where their houses are now. And so they'll be looking over top of that road and it won't impact them so much. And we actually made an agreement with one of the homeowners that was the closest to Spring Creek, where we're going to deed them that landscape buffer to them. But we're going to put a landscape easement on it so they can't develop on it. But it'll be their property to develop and landscape as they see it.
Okay. So just my last question is, I hear a lot of agreements happening. Are these written like agreements, or are these just kind of handshakes that I'm worried that they'll have to fight for it later on? Is it?
Ouch.
And I'm not, again, it's just business. I'm not saying it's not an integrity thing. It's just business, obviously. I want to make sure.
So in our application with Idaho Water Resources, I have settlements and I have written agreements with those people. There was a number of people that were in that did not participate in a timely manner, and the jurisdiction Idaho Department of Water Resources threw them out, and I extended the same offer to those people and gave those people written agreements for that, an extension. The person I just talked about is where I was going to go give that property. I just sent them an email and I gave them my commitment in writing to them. Is there a legal document? No, but there's my email that said that I would do that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Any additional questions for the applicant? Thank you both very much for your time. All right, now we'll go ahead and turn it over to the public. Before I get started, do we have anyone online? Is there no one online? Okay. I do have a list of people here that signed up. I will go through that list first, and then if anyone additionally wants to speak, you just raise your hand and I'll bring you forward. Also, if you are here and just want to voice your opposition, correct me if I'm wrong, Leon, you can stand up, just give your name and address, say I'm opposed, but they'll still have to come forward and sign something, correct?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioners, we have a sign-up sheet at the podium. We could maybe move it over by Richard to allow people to sign in on that after they state
Yeah.
whatever position they have on the project.
Or support. So if you would like, you can come forward. You'll have 3 minutes, state your name and address, speak your piece in support or opposition. Or if you don't want to speak, you just want to make yourself heard that you oppose or support it, you can come forward and sign up there. Oh, yes, right there, if you are wanting to do that. But anyways, if you do that, just please come forward. Again, please maintain decorum, no shouting. I ask you to address the commission as well. Don't turn to the applicant. Don't go to the staff and start a back and forth with them. But with that being said, I think we'll go ahead and have a good remainder of our meeting. With that said, we'll go ahead and start with Todd Tucker. Todd Tucker, please come forward, state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your presentation or your testimony.
Good evening, Chairman and Commissioners. My name is Todd Tucker. I represent Boise Hunter Homes. Our business address is 923 South Bridgeway Place, Eagle, Idaho 83616. We are not in opposition to this project. However, we do want our request on the record. On February 27th, 2025, we submitted a letter to both ACHD and ITD requesting that they require the developer of the Shadow Valley project to reimburse us for the transportation infrastructure improvements that we have installed or paid for in the general vicinity of the project. To date, the amount of those improvements is almost $8 million. The amount of residential development of the proposed Shadow Valley planned community is approximately 17.87% of the residential development of Dry Creek Ranch. As such, we request that they pay their proportionate share of these improvements, which equates to $1,426,985. Justification for our request is based on the traffic impact study that was submitted by the applicant for this project. It indicates that the proposed Shadow Valley project can be constructed while maintaining acceptable levels of service due to the fact that we, Boise Hunter Homes, have already been conditioned to make the necessary improvements. So we are simply asking that we be compensated for the pro rata share of the improvements that we installed that benefit the proposed development. Now, we acknowledge that neither this body nor the county commissioners have authority over public right-of-way, but we still wanted to make our concerns formally known. The letter that we sent to ACHD and ITD was also sent to Ada County planning staff back in February of this year. And that concludes my testimony, and I can provide this testimony to become part of the record to staff. I can answer any questions you might have, but that concludes my testimony.
Thank you. Any questions, Commissioner Rowley?
Yeah, hi, thanks for coming tonight. These are improvements that Hunter Homes already performed?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rowley, yes, we've either installed these improvements or have paid our share to ITD for the improvements to be constructed in the future.
And these are just on Highway 55, or are they off-roads as well?
Mr. Chairman, Commissioner Rowley, not just Highway 55, also improvements to Brookside Lane, the traffic signal that was put on Brookside Lane and the widening of Brookside Lane, in addition to the green T traffic signal that was just recently installed and operational at the intersection of Highway 55 and Dry Creek Road.
Okay, thank you.
Any additional questions? All right, thank you very much, sir. Next, I have a Randy Hurst. Randy Hurst, please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
I'm Randy Hurst from 16089 North Basin Way, Boise or Garden City, depending on we use Boise, but Garden City also. I appreciate hearing some of the things tonight that I haven't heard before. I did hear that there was 7 acres set aside for wildlife corridor, and appreciate hearing that there won't be fences and that sort of thing. So that helps. The access to the development from West Spring Creek, I'm concerned about because already we are quite loaded, and the homes on the north side of the development, they could choose to go out onto Spring Creek. They're going to have a road that goes to Brookside, but my concern is those choices to go out. Tonight, for the first time, I saw that there's some kind of work being done at that intersection or connection to Highway 55. But I would really prefer that there would be an emergency egress that prevents people from just deciding to go out onto Spring Creek and loading up that side of the road. Let them go to Brookside. And then if there's an emergency, they have emergency egress. The water, there's talk about only a couple people have made contact. They haven't made contact with us. There's a website that says it's under construction. when I've looked at it, and has provided very little information. So I want the board to stipulate that these things be written out, and you know what's being agreed to, rather than some people who might be making contact. There needs to be something that's more formal for everybody that's up on the aquifer that might be affected. Especially, there's people who just don't have, they're isolated, and they're very vulnerable, and the lower income. There needs to be something that is more formally provided. What else? I think it's disingenuous that the housing density includes all of the golf course or all of the stuff on the west side. The density is going to be much higher, and I would hope that you reduce the level of density to what sounds like it's going to be fairly heavy.
Does anyone have any questions for this gentleman? No. Thank you so much for your testimony. We appreciate it. Next, I'm sorry, I have trouble with handwriting a lot of times. I believe it's a Brandy, is it Swift? Oh, okay. I was way off. It's all good. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name's Brandy Seeloff, 7935 West Stack Rock Drive, Boise, Idaho 83714. Just have a couple of items I want to review. I do oppose. I live very close to this. The road is actually maintained. It's an Ada County Highway District road. So that was just a clarification I wanted to be sure that was noted. Couple of things that haven't been talked about is fire. What is the plan for fire? We continue to add homes out there. Dry Creek, Avamore, there has not been any addition to fire, right? So now we're having a police station, fabulous, but what are we doing for our homes? We're very dry, lots of risk, and I haven't seen any plans from anyone on how we're going to address fire. Water is still an issue. I know that's not the forum right here to talk about that, but water is an issue. Traffic is not going to be sustainable the way it is currently designed. That road cannot maintain that. There was a bond in the 70s to maintain that road. It needs to be relooked at because as it currently stands, it does not meet code. And we cannot continue to add and add and add. Just general population. We all moved to Idaho for one reason, and we like it. And I'm not just creating gripes and moans and groans. I don't like development, but I get it, right? We're gonna have to, but the density is too much. It doesn't match what we are out and about out there. We have big lots, we like our space, we don't want all this high density multifamily units. They share a wall, it's multifamily. And I'm not sure that this is the right place to put this development. So I am opposed, and I think the commissioners have a duty to look at what is being done for fire suppression. We will all go, including this new development, if we don't get fire resources out there. There is not a close firehouse. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for Brandy,
Commissioner
and more of a comment.
No, I got questions. This is
And
fun.
more of a quick little comment. Thank you for your testimony. I just wanted to touch on the fire. I know Eagle has a station at Hidden Springs that they just started, and then there's also one that it's been there for about a year or two, I guess now, maybe 2 years. So there's one in Hidden Springs, and then also on 55 and Beacon Light, There's another Eagle Fire Station back there with BLM and Bureau of Land Management, federal, and there's also a state fire there as well. Just in case, just wanted to let you know.
I know, but the one on Beacon Light has been there for years and hasn't taken into account the density, and Hidden Springs is significantly far away from where we are. I just think it's something you need to think about.
Yep, just throwing that out there.
I appreciate your
Thank
comments,
you.
but that's mine. Anything else?
Yep, you said you were talking about a road. What road are you talking about that isn't maintained properly?
So Spring Creek coming in, and it splits and goes to Stack Rock. It seemed like it was noted by the opposing side that that was not maintained by Ada County, but it is. It is an Ada County road. We don't maintain it. We maintain our own lanes, and at the very far end of our subdivision, there's a private road, but Spring Creek and Stack Rock are maintained.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, any other questions? No, thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, I have a Braden, is it Sealaf? Please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Braden Seeloff, 7935 West Stack Rock Drive, Boise, Idaho, 83714. I'm opposed to the development as well, and just want to reiterate the fire suppression. There was supposed to be a fire department supposed to go into the Spring Creek development, and it was taken out for some reason. Not sure why. The other issues are water. It's significant to hook up to water, especially the distances. Even if he brings it into the subdivision, from the stub to our houses is several hundred feet. And that's probably $100,000 proposition for each homeowner if we do, if the wells do go dry. So that's one. And then traffic, getting in and out of Spring Creek onto Highway 55 is a significant challenge, especially on Fridays and Sunday nights. I suggest you guys take a look at that in person at some point, just to see with your own eyes. It doesn't do it justice on pictures or just talking about it until you go out there. So the increased traffic would be impossible. And there's only one egress for approximately 30 homes right now, and that exceeds code at this point. Okay, that's all I have.
I got a question for you. So are you off of Spring Creek then?
We're Stack Rock.
Okay. And
Just
so
off, we
got
come
just-
in off
you-
Spring Creek.
Sorry, you can't go east and then make the road to come down to get to Brookside. You can't.
No, not at this.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
Next up, I have is it a Robert Ray Smith? This is at 8482 West Spring Creek Way. All right, I will come back. If you don't get called, you can raise your hand. Next up, I have Celeste. Is it Heese or Fleece? Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Celeste Hazy,
Wow,
8100
I'm
Spring
really
Creek Way.
bad.
Sorry.
I'm
I
terrible
scribbled.
with these names.
It's okay, we have complicated names. 8100 Spring Creek Way. I live in one of the homes that's above the leach field that they're proposing, and we actually own a couple of the lots. And I do know that all of those lots do not perk, so all 4 of those lots would have to connect to that drain field. There's no other way, unless they connected to a sewer system, which is not likely. I'm up here to speak on behalf of my husband and my 7-year-old son who could not come because they're at football practice. We are all unopposed to this development. We bought our home and we did so based on the existing zoning, multi-acre lots, open space, and rural characteristic that defines our community. Changing that zoning now to allow denser development would undermine everything that makes this area special to us, that currently makes that golf course a jewel as it is, and is why that golf course wins best golf course in the valley, because of where it's located, not because it has homes around it. This proposal does not serve the residents or the area around it. It serves the developer and how this developer can make more money. If this is approved, this will change the entire area by bringing in more traffic to our quiet road, more light and noise pollution, and greater pressure on our infrastructures. It will also disrupt the local wildlife that we've already discussed and the environments that, as the residents, we have worked very hard to preserve. Zoning laws exist for a reason, to provide stability, protect neighborhoods, and ensure responsible growth. If the developer wants to continue here, perhaps we should follow the existing zoning codes instead of trying to increase them. So we urge that you deny this. My 7-year-old has also stated that he would like me to express his opposition. He states that our house is the best house of all of his friends because we don't have houses all around us, and he likes that we have the open space as opposed to living in a development. That's all we have.
Any questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. Next up, I have a Julie Burney. Julie Burney off Mirror Pond Drive. Am I saying that right?
Be Emmett.
Oh,
Am I listed on there?
yeah. I have Emmett next. So
Okay, yeah,
Is
well,
Julie-
she got cold.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And
we did,
AC's working good.
All right. So yes, Emmett Burney. Please state your name and address. And
My name's Emmett Burney, and I live on 9072 West Mirror Pond Drive over in Dry Creek Ranch. I'm opposed to the development. The bus stop, is there a bus yard also? Is that a bus yard?
Yeah, it's a bus yard where the whole.
And I just wonder how they would mitigate the noise. I mean, buses all have backup alarms, and if you have multiple buses, they're going to be coming and going all times of the day. They're right there. I mean, unfortunately for me, it's right behind my house, but other people will be impacted by it as well. And yeah, I just don't see how that could be mitigated because you can't turn off those backup alarms. And they're going to be coming and going all hours. And the sheriff station bus stop doesn't, I know there's going to be development, although I don't understand why the waivers are requested for an increase in density when that whole area was developed as a rural farm-to-table community. And I'm sure you guys had input on the character of that development when it was originally proposed, and then when it was modified and finally carried out by Boise Hunter Homes to maintain and establish that character. Like I said, I'm opposed just because it will change all that, and it will go against the existing. I mean, they're asking for multiple waivers. Also, the developer also stated that something about he's going to have 95% of the water reused, or is there a water treatment plant proposed for this development? Or I don't understand. Maybe I misunderstood that comment. But
yeah, there's water treatment that's going to
there's
be
a water treatment plant.
facility that's going to treat the water to be placed into the golf course is what the plan is.
Okay, all right. I guess that's it. I just, like I said, I'm opposed to it, and it's going to change the character of the existing development. So, thank you.
Does anyone have any questions? Commissioner Murphy?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Hello, Emmett. So there's two areas of this. There's the estates east next to the golf course, and then there's the estates west in the foothills there. Which one of those are you opposed to?
I'm along.
I mean, I know it's one unit technically.
Yeah.
But do you have a problem with anything over on the west side up in the hills, or is it mainly on the east?
Mainly on the east. I mean, it's the density. The west side, I guess the west side is the commercial development of the.
The west side is the larger acreage
It's like
homes.
Oh, the larger acreage. No, aren't there existing 10-acre homes over on that side already?
No, not correct.
And I don't see that changing the character of that area.
Okay, thank you. I was just curious.
Yeah. That it?
So I do just have a question and this, maybe Leon, you can answer as well. The waivers to lower the density, not increase it. They're waiving to not have as dense, is my understanding. So the planned community per Ada County Code requires a more dense situation than what they're asking for. So they have to get a waiver to be less dense, correct? That's what it is.
Chairman Commissioner, that's right. Yeah, the net density is supposed to be 3 units per acre. They're, as I mentioned before, coming in at 0.6, which is substantially lower than like the Dry Creek Ranch density to the south and other planned communities in the area. So it's a waiver to be less dense.
But the
And even
.6
the-
includes the west side over there on the,
It does include.
in the aggregate total, right?
Yes, yeah, so it does include the open space and the golf course and that sort of
Yeah.
thing. So yes, those are all calculated against the number of housing units proposed.
And then I again don't understand how a shared wall unit duplex is not multifamily, but, you know, I'm sure it's in some sort of definition that I'm misunderstanding. But those are my opinions.
Any questions?
Mr. Chairman.
Commissioner Rowley?
Mr. Lesson, with respect to the bus staging, my understanding is that is for buses that are taking kids to and from schools to the south of this, and they're just simply overnighting at that location, correct?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioners, I'll let the applicant speak to that more specifically, but yes, it is, the purpose is for the West Ada School District and for buses used for the West Ada School District, not, you know, just general buses for the public or things.
It's not a bus stop.
Right, I think there is a bus stop somewhere in the area proposed, but it's not intended to be like a transit station or anything like that, so.
So how many buses are going to be parked there? And
Yeah, Chairman Commissioner, I don't have that answer right now, and maybe our applicant can speak to what their conversation's been with West Ada. That would certainly be something that would be nailed down a lot more as we move through this process.
Yeah.
Right now, it's just a conceptual location for this thing, but yeah.
Yeah, and
That
if-
would have to be permitted separately though, correct? All of the, it would,
Yeah, Chairman Commissioners, you know, it's part of the phase 2, the zoning code that you would establish would identify this as a specific area with allowed uses that go into there, and they'd go through either a conditional use or master site plan process to build that out in the future. And so the community would have a chance to weigh in on that.
So those would be built after you sold the other houses right there beside it?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioner, I don't know about timing, and I'm sorry, not speaking directly to you, I'm just addressing the
I'm
commission.
sorry,
You know, in terms of the timing of that improvement, I think that's all to be figured out with West Ada School District still, but again, I think the applicant can address that.
okay.
One more comment. The people are saying that they've dealt with the homeowners in the area, but one of your previous commenters also mentioned that, you know, he's never been contacted. I've never been contacted to comment. I've gotten these notices in the mail, and then they keep getting moved and moved and moved, and it makes it pretty inconvenient to try and reschedule every time. So that's it.
Thank you very much. For your
Thank you.
testimony. Next up, I have a Roxanne, is it Licht? Please state your name and address for the record, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Roxanne Licht. I live at 16200 North Basin Way, Boise, Idaho 83714. I'm actually at the end of the neighborhood off of Spring Creek. Would you mind bringing the document up that shows the density? So 2 slides down.
Here?
Yeah, so my main concern, so I represent me, my husband, and my 3 kids and a variety of animals. My big concern is this road is a dangerous road. It's, you know, right where the entrance is to the northern end of the new development. It'll fit 2 cars, but it's very steep. We've had buses slide out on that part of the road, and I've had to slide down in between them to try to get out, and that's gonna be my main entrance and exit. So it's very, sorry, I hate public speaking, so I may pass out. Sorry, guys. So yeah, I've had buses go like sideways, and I've had to slide around them. It's very concerning during winters where there's, you know, bad snow and stuff like that. the highest density area that they're proposing, the medium density, is right near that exit. And I know they're saying that I can use the nice light, but look how far that is away from my road. So I have to travel all the way down to Brookside to get to a safe exit of my neighborhood. And you're adding anywhere between 400 and 800 cars there. It's very concerning. I've almost been rear-ended trying to get off 55, going southbound into my neighborhood. People swerve. The car behind them doesn't see them swerve, and they slam on their brakes and almost slide into me. I have an SUV with 3 kids there. It's scary. I've screamed at people. I've called delivery truck drivers and complained. It's only going to get more dangerous if you add more density. So I do hope that you take that into consideration. A mom who's just trying to protect her kids, who's terrified of public speaking, please take this into consideration. If anything, ask for a lower density, if not a no entrance or exit into our neighborhood. So,
Any questions?
my big request.
Thank you so much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Next up, I have a Teresa Troy. Teresa Troy.
I'm going to decline to speak, but I'm 8300 Spring Creek Way, so.
And we can have you fill out the sheet up here, just so you're logged in the.
Yeah, if you'd like, you can just, if you're opposed or support it, you can just say so, and then just please, if you do so, we do need you to sign up here. Okay, thank you so much. That's the end of the list. So what I'll do is I'll go through with hands now. If anyone has to, would like to speak and oppose or for. Oh, we do have, oh man. The gentleman, I'm sorry, the gentleman that came up earlier and signed, I am unfortunately completely here.
Back with the baseball cap.
Yeah, you, sir, yes, please come forward and, because you signed up a bit late.
Yeah, I thought it was.
I was gonna say, you're gonna come in there thinking you knew cursive and stuff, and no. Anyways, all right, sir, please state your name and address.
It's Phil Moxley, 7730 Stack Rock Drive, Boise. I'm opposed to the project the way that it stands now. My big concerns, safety, the density. When we've got Dry Creek, then we got Avamore with the expansion that's been approved for, I believe it was 10,000 homes over the next 10 years up there. You're going through that canyon where you come out at Spring Creek Road. I mean, it's just really tough just with our neighborhood and all the people that live right in our community up there. The density is the spacing from, well, when you come out of the canyon down to Dry Creek on the east side of the road, it's comfortable, it's nice, both sides of the road. But I just can't imagine density in our area up there. I don't see the benefit. And there's been a lot of claims made tonight that people have embraced them and approved things. We had a neighborhood meeting 2 weeks ago on Sunday. Almost the whole neighborhood was there. Not one single person that was at that meeting had been contacted at that time. So a lot of things that are said should be put in writing, and we would sure like to see some considerations to open this thing up if it were going to be developed to be conformity to the way it is now to some extent. Now, we probably average about 4 acres per parcel up there. I'm 2.6 acres, but it's comfortable. We have no noise. You can't hear anything from the highway up there. If you're down closer to the golf course, you do. But just the impact, and then food carts and concessions and all this stuff, that just does not fit for our area. And it doesn't fit for the Boise Valley. We got lots of room to expand in the valley, but I mean, we're bottlenecked right in there. People are going to get killed. It's dangerous up there. And I don't think that we have the infrastructure from the road. The highway is maintained in our area. We don't maintain it ourselves. When it snows, the county comes up and plows it. That's definitely, and they do a good job for us. Once in a while, we have neighbors running around on their snowmobile or on their four wheels with the plows, and I'm on a steep grade, and they, so we had a nice little community, but having a lot of people moving in there that just decide they want to start running up our dead end streets and looking around, and the impact, it just doesn't fit. It doesn't feel good. I think you really need to take a whole look at this is about a lot of money for this guy, okay? And I would check him out and really make sure that he is credible and does a good job wherever he's been before. Thank you.
Any questions? No. Thank you so much, sir. All right, now I'll move on to people. Sir, in the white t-shirt, come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes. Leon, do we need them to fill out afterwards? Would that help you?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioners, if there's just a sign-in sheet right behind them that they could stop and write their name, and
Okay.
that'd be
Wait,
great.
after you give your testimony, please just go or sign that form on the corner there. We'd appreciate it.
Will do. Thank you. Ben Schultz, 4706 West Schaefer Meadow Lane. So thanks for listening to me and the other members of the community. Larry lives in Bend. His consultant, I think, lives in McCall. So of course, they're happy to compromise the nature and character of this development for a buck. This is profit over community by design. Why would the commission choose to grant an exception just to help Larry and his investors make a profit? Please uphold the current zoning and the nature of this community. Larry heard our concerns 2 months ago at this meeting. He did not adjust his proposal and still wants profit over a community. I live adjacent to the proposed development, and I've never been contacted by the applicant for discussion. That's been stated today, but I've never received a notice in mail, and he's never come to my door. The idea that some new commercial space in the golf course is going to reduce round trips is nonsensical. The only ingress and egress is via Highway 55, so that ultimately will just increase the traffic in and out of that space. It won't reduce the round trips to any of the houses or the neighborhoods that they're proposing. This isn't a planned community. This is the most houses they can squeeze into a small space adjacent to the golf course, negatively impacting the existing homeowners. Please reject this application. It's too drastic. It's out of step with the rural character that we value. It's wrong for this location. I'm not opposed to growth, but we need to be reasonable. West of Highway 55, rural preservation, that's what it is today. Dropping down to maybe something like rural residential, 10-acre lots, maybe that makes sense. On the other side, where there's 4, 5, 6-acre lots, maybe dropping down to 1-acre lots, that might be reasonable. But what they're proposing, these duplexes, houses in very close proximity, it's not in keeping with what we have today. Many of us have spent our life savings. We've dreamed to live in this neighborhood. We now live here, and to allow this to go in, to ruin the space that we all invested in, is just unfair, and it's not consistent with the community. So I ask you to consider rejecting this. This proposal would bring more traffic without proper turn lanes. It'll raise accident risks. It'll create light pollution. It will threaten the existing wells and push out the wildlife, especially the elk, that make this area special. It'll permanently change the landscape and quality of life that we have worked hard to protect. I'll be redundant here, but let's be clear. This is about profit over community. I'm not opposed to development, but this development is about profit, and it's not about the betterment of the community. So I ask that you reject it. Thank you so much.
Any questions? Thank you so much. Please stop at the corner there. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Please come forward, state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Kathy Jordan, 16110 Basin Way, Boise, Idaho, 83714. And I would like to start by saying that the fire department, as of their current standards, on our neighborhood, as it stands right now, we are at 30 homes. They recommend no more than 30 for a firehouse. And we don't have a firehouse. And this is adding hundreds upon hundreds of homes to an area where Spring Creek accesses 30. On top of that, the whole principle of dumping 200 more cars onto Spring Creek is completely out of bounds. And I say that because they have their east development and they have their west development. Why can't they put a light between the two? That is the responsible thing to do. You can see on the map where the west side comes down and meets the east side. They could have a light there and they can leave Spring Creek alone. We deserve to be left alone. We've been there, we've lived there ourselves for 24 years. We've got neighbors that have been there 30 years. We were the ones that hosted the meeting where 40 people showed up. They have not contacted any of us. 40 of us. They contacted 2 neighbors. They've met with 2 neighbors. So yeah, I might be a little visibly upset and a little shaken because this is not fair and it's not right. The way this guy is conducting is not fair and not right, and everything that the last speaker said is absolutely true in that they're not considering the nature of the neighborhood. We don't have any duplexes within eyesight anywhere on that golf course. If you look in any direction, you're not going to see a duplex. So I beg you to leave our density the way it is. And even as he said, if it dropped down to 1 acre lots, that would be a vast improvement. And I also want to say that this last winter, we had 100 elk, over 100. And our neighbors witnessed it migrating onto this golf course. They winter there. They winter in Dry Creek. And a 300-foot corridor is not going to be enough for a herd of 100 elk. So we moved there for the purpose of being in wild Idaho. This is taking it away. And I just, like I said, beg of you, you are the ones that are in charge of all the planning in this whole region. Just keep in mind that we live here for the purpose of it being wild. And please reduce the density. So,
Any
okay.
questions? Thank you so much for your testimony.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, sir, back there in the blue shirt. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Jerry Troy. I am at 8300 Spring Creek Way, right at the north end of the development. We've lived there for 40 years. And the folks in opposition have been at a disadvantage tonight because we're looking at a one-dimensional map here where it looks inevitable that we're going to be encompassed by Dry Creek and Avamore. We live in a valley where we can't even see those developments. And those have zero anything to do with the future, I think, of our Spring Creek or Shadow Valley area and the area across the street. Again, it's a one-dimensional map you're looking at. It's not flat farm ground. We're not going to be overcome by those guys unless it's permitted. And again, I'm just opposed, not to the development, but the development the way it's proposed tonight. And, you know, to look at some of the slides up here, again, I've been there 40 years. I've watched all the critters in and out of there. Some of those wildlife corridors, if you go back to the maps, they're right across the existing clubhouse and parking lot and a driving range net that is 30 feet tall. It's not a realistic corridor. There's just a lot of questions, a lot of work to do, I think. Again, we've heard folks say that this isn't the right development at the right place, and I agree with that. And I think this gentleman referred to a planned community sub-area development regulations, and it met with those or whatever. But I'm saying just because those exist doesn't mean they should be applied here. So appreciate you listening to me tonight, and thank you.
Thank you. Any questions?
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner
just a quick question. Do you live up on the northern end of, you live on West Spring Creek then, up in that area.
Yeah.
Would those neighbors, the 30 neighbors up there, benefit from having a different access to bring them down to Brookside as opposed to always having to fight? I can't imagine having to always go out on the 55 and make a left turn.
I guess that depends on how excited everybody would be south of us to have everybody north passing through by their homes, exiting out the south end. So if you're going to try to funnel everybody south to Brookside from the north end at Springs Creek, I mean, you're just increasing traffic down to Brookside. So I understand the question, but it's not realistic. I live right next to the Highway 55. I'm not going to drive down to Spring Creek, or drive down to Brookside to get on 55. Currently, I don't know, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, it's craziness trying to get onto that highway. And it's getting worse every year. And if you're southbound, I think someone mentioned it prior to me, coming in from McCall or from the north, trying to turn east on Spring Creek off of Highway 55, there is no turn lane. Some of us are pulling campers and horse trailers, and it's just, I usually pull over to the fog lane, wait for everybody to go by, make sure it's clear and come across. I don't try to stop the traffic coming down. And it's hectic, to say the least, so.
So you don't see that be a benefit to anybody up there then to have that?
I do
separate
not.
access?
I don't think that's realistic. I think you migrate or you move to the nearest exit,
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
Any additional questions? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, in a green shirt. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Callie Kelly, and I live at 4642 West Schaefer Meadow Lane. Growth is inevitable, but it's crucial that we carefully evaluate who is shaping our community and the long-term consequences of their actions. Mr. Kine has a well-documented history of pursuing high-density developments where multiple projects ignored local codes, led to legal disputes, and left communities grappling with unforeseen safety and environmental consequences. These are not isolated incidents. They reflect a consistent pattern of prioritizing profit over the well-being of residents and the preservation of natural surroundings. This should give you and everyone here pause. Within the resources that I submitted, it is evident that there is a repeated pattern of aggressive development, legal skirmishes, and disregard for community concerns. Past patterns are not random, they are a warning. Shadow Valley, with its rural character, scenic foothills, and wildfire-prone corridor along Highway 55, is particularly vulnerable. Infrastructure here is limited, emergency response is already stretched, and essential utilities are not designed to support the scale of this proposed project. There has been a constant battle for utility service along the Highway 55 corridor to the existing developments, let alone 300 new homes. 100 new septic tanks seeping down into the soil above our homes is not the answer. High-density development here, which is exactly what he specializes in, risks permanent fragmentation, loss of habitat, and long-term environmental degradation. The history of Mr. Kine's projects raise questions we cannot ignore. In Bend, Oregon, Kine repeatedly clashed with neighbors over massive tree clearings, the destruction of open spaces, and attempts to bypass local regulations. His projects often push the limits of zoning and environmental rules, leaving communities with lasting scars, both physical and legal. The Bachelor View Road development alone saw dozens of acres of mature ponderosa pines cleared, triggering multiple lawsuits, and required the city to spend public funds to resolve conflicts. Given this information, what we heard earlier from the applicant feels like lip service. Before those communities had to deal with the consequences of Mr. Kine's stewardship, they too were where we stand today, faced with a decision to make only to endure the consequences of ignored codes, insufficient infrastructure, and compromised safety. Do we want Shadow Valley to repeat this pattern? Are we prepared to address the potential for congestion, fire hazards, and ecological damage if his plans are approved? These are not hypothetical scenarios. They are realistic threats rooted in documented precedent. Please understand that the City of Bend enacted tree preservation laws to protect mature forest. Kine's response to that was defiant. Rather than comply, he challenged it, refusing to submit required plans, and argued that the city's law was illegal. This is not an isolated case. Similar disputes have appeared in other developments, showing a consistent willingness to disregard rules until forced to concede. Residents fear that approval today could devastate traffic, strain water and emergency services, and irreversibly fragment wildlife corridors. I'm almost done. May I continue?
You'll get about 30 more seconds.
All of these are legitimate concerns amplified by Kind's history of prioritizing profit over compliance. Kind maximizes development, even at the edge of or outside of legal boundaries. He engages in litigious or aggressive tactics to force approvals, and communities are left to mitigate the damage, often at significant public cost. History suggests that promises of cooperation may not match outcomes. I believe what we heard today is gaslighting and lip service. Duplexes are high density, period, end of discussion. This raises an urgent question for our community. Can we trust a developer with a documented history of regulatory defiance and neighborhood disruption? I beg you to carefully weigh the developer's track record against the unique vulnerabilities of our community. Shadow Valley is not just another parcel of land. It is a delicate environment. It is home to residents who expect safety and a community with character worth preserving. Approving this development could set precedent that prioritizes short-term gain over long-term resilience. I ask that you consider these risks and protect Shadow Valley from irreversible consequences.
Any questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am. Is there a way, oh, okay, I was gonna say, is there a way we can get her a mic so she doesn't have to? Oh, she's got it. She's on the spot. Never mind.
Okay.
Good. All right. Just trying to be helpful.
I am Karen Brodesser. I live at 4752 West Schaefer Meadow Lane, Boise. My property abuts the Shadow Valley Estates, and I had grave concerns when I was informed that they were wanting to put 2 to 5 homes into that 11-acre parcel right next to mine, because as Mr. Birch said, we bought in those places out there for space, not to live 8 to 10 feet house to house like they are so much in the valley these days. Now, I do want to share something that disturbed me very much, because shortly after we bought our property, we found out that Peggy Buchanan, who were the Buchanans that owned that 800-acre cattle ranch that incorporated Avamore, the north end of the golf course and all that area, that she wanted us to have water rights, which we paid for, to find out that Shadow Valley Estates had blocked our water rights by the berm they have there. I have pictures of what it was to be, if you want to see them. I also went to the state, and I have a map that shows where the culvert goes underneath from Spring Valley to the side where we're supposed to have our water. That's one thing. And the other thing, when they're talking about fire, one of the houses that actually it's the one closest to the berm, closest to 55 in Shadow Valley Estates, they were clearing that out. And to the north of that house is where one of our ditches were to come to our property. It's just south of where that's at. They were digging, and there were probably 3 to 4 fruit trees that they took out, and they were cleaning up and everything, and burning the wood and debris from everything where they had piled. And then they left. Well, I noticed smoking, so I called the fire department. It took an hour for them to put out just the pile of cuttings, grass, trees that they chopped up and everything. And to let you know something else, since probably about 2005 or 6, I'm certified with FEMA, and I'm also certified with Community Emergency Response Team. So I wanted to let you be aware that and my father retired as a fire chief for the military in Northeastern Oregon at the military depot. So I'm very fire-oriented. I am from Northeastern Oregon, and if I wanted to share this, that I am concerned about the overbuilding.
If you want, Leon, we can grab them photos and add them
happy to
the,
take those in as part of the
I
record.
apologize, I lost hearing.
No worries. I'm just having him. We're gonna grab your photos and such so we can.
Just all of these?
Yeah.
Are you okay with us keeping your photos? Are you fine with us keeping the photos?
Pardon me?
Can we keep the photos?
I have no extra. I need to have them. I could if you want to make copies of them.
We'll work it out.
We'll make some copies real quick.
But
Okay.
these were found, a person from the state found them for the transportation. He had to do some digging, so this one you might want to,
Okay.
take a look at it and see if you want to make a copy.
Okay, we can make
But I think
copies and then we'll work it out.
Oh.
We can get them
Let
scanned
me
and
show,
returned
let me show you something right here. You can see on the other side, on the west side of 55, where the spot is, because, let me look at this again.
We're gonna have to have her come near the mic, otherwise it's gonna,
I'm sorry.
Well, that's okay. Maybe we can turn, I mean, I don't know if you want to give her additional time to show this to you, because then
That's fine.
maybe more beneficial than.
Yeah,
Right here is where it goes, because
We can just pass it around and hand it back.
I mean, I tried to get it set right, but anyway, there is,
No.
wait a minute. Oh, right here, this is where it comes over on the west side, and then there is the ditch there, and that's what that this picture here especially shows,
Okay, thank you.
and that's been all blocked off.
We'll just look them and then we'll give them right back to you, so we won't
Make
take
a
them. so.
copy.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's talking about this section right here is this photo, just about right there.
Okay. All right, I see. So yeah, this little bend right here that's highlighted is where these photos are. All right, and this little right here. Okay. All right. Cool. All right. We'll keep going and then we'll just give them back. Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, Eli, if you could go make a copy of those for us real quick.
Or yeah, if you want
Scan
to
them
do
in,
that,
that'd be
yeah.
great.
All right. Yes, ma'am, in blue. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
My name is Laura Romick. I live at 16070 North Basin Way, and I have huge objections to the amount of traffic, the density question that comes up over and over again. This is a beautiful wildlife protecting area. I was driving out to get out to 55. I have to obviously go down Spring Creek Road, take a left. I'd say about 9 weeks ago, I was driving, making my left to go downtown, and there were easily 100 elk. One nosed out onto 55. I immediately put my flashing lights on. I was turning into the right-hand lane to go south, and the person coming the other way waited. We blocked all the traffic. To see this happen, this is real. Those elk could not negotiate that crossing with the wall of houses. That would not happen. I don't know how they're planning on preventing that. Anyway, that's one concern. There's some confusion because there was talk that maybe the meeting should have been 3 days later than this. It wasn't, there was in our group on when this meeting would happen.
Like on a Saturday?
I believe it was on the, what day was it going to be?
The 13th.
The 13th. It was on the 13th, and it moved to the 14th. And
I can address that if you'd like.
Maybe.
But I'd finish testifying, and
okay,
then I can
just
speak.
that I would imagine we'd have a few more people here. The nature of this area is so terribly special, and it's very frightening to hear some of these concerns. The issue of fire is major. The North Basin Way right below my house is all of 11 feet wide. My well, which is the oldest well in the whole area, is very vulnerable. At the end of the summer, this is right now, the amount of pressure I have now is really scary. Having 300 more houses pulling from that is one real fear. And the other is traffic, getting out onto 55. It's some days it can take 12 minutes for me to make a left-hand turn, depending on the timing of the lights for Dry Creek, and especially on a Friday, certainly. It's such a special treasure just think, please, long and hard about allowing these changes. Thank you very
Any
much.
questions? Oh, thank you so much for your testimony.
Okay.
Chairman, Commissioners, I'll address
Yeah,
the
if you wanna
August
address-
13th thing. So it was brought to staff's attention last week that at our June 12th hearing, when the item was tabled, August 13th was the date that was listed versus August 14th. And so when we learned that, obviously August 13th wasn't today, and our board meets then, not our P&Z. We sent out new notices to everyone that received initial notices. We had the applicant post the site with the updated date, used all of our social media access that we had to advertise the correct date. And I will say, I was at the board hearing last night anticipating some people that might have accidentally made it to that meeting versus tonight, and we had nobody show up for that meeting last night. So again, it was a simple error that occurred at the tabling of this item in June, and we went to great lengths to get everyone here as best we could. And so that's the issue I believe she's speaking about. So.
Okay. All right. Thanks for clarifying that. Anyone else? Yes, sir, in the far back. Please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Noah Artner. I live at 7624 North Basin Way. I just want to give you guys some facts. As of 5 minutes ago, we have 660 signed petition members that oppose this. Also, in our Spring Creek estates, we have 30 homes that average 4.13 acres. The proposed location, if I could get that slide up, of the plot with the, yeah. So the proposed plot right there, if you look on the county assessor's website, is 101.96 acres. 306 homes are proposed for that area. The entrance to our neighborhood is a 16% grade, and I don't see how you can lessen that because everybody that lives on that road, their driveways, excuse me, their driveways tie into that. So I'm not 100% sure how you could make that any less steep or conform to current standards, but I strongly oppose this, obviously, and I just hope that you guys will do the right thing and listen to all of us tonight that have voiced our opinions and also the 660 people that have signed our petition so far. Thank you.
Any questions? Commissioner Birch.
So you mentioned the petition with the 650 people, but when were you planning on presenting that and to who?
Right now.
Okay. That was the question. So you have it with you?
I have the online, we also have 20 write-ins that have also given us, in writing responses to it. But I can give that to you guys as well.
Commissioners, there was a petition, so the closing time was last Thursday at 5 p.m. and Mr. Artner's wife, I believe, sent me the petition at that time, and so that is included in the record. And again, this is a recommendation of the board, so they'll continue to get to add petition signatures prior to the board hearing as well too. So that number can continue to grow, I guess, but yeah. So just want to let you know that it is part of the record right now. The petition as of last Thursday at 5 o'clock.
Okay, that was my concern. I just wanted to make sure that if they wanted it to be part of the record, that it would be. And it's a virtual certainty, even if it wasn't just for a recommendation of the board, that this is going to have same number of people showing up, maybe more, with the Board of County Commissioners is considering this. And so if you're getting additional signatures and you want that to be part of the board's record, then you need to make sure that you comply with the time requirements to get it in on time, which is what, like 10 days before the meeting or?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioners, it's 5 o'clock the Thursday before the hearing. And so we haven't set the hearing date for this, obviously,
Right.
but as soon as we do, then we'll notify folks when the written testimony deadline is for that hearing, so.
Okay. Thank you.
Any additional questions? All right. Commissioner Rowley.
Hi, you mentioned the grade of Spring Creek Road coming off of 55 being 16%
Yes.
grade. I think I heard the applicant say previously that their intent was to lower that grade.
Correct.
And you acknowledged, well, the driveways would have to be extended down to that lower grade. Is there something you know about those various driveways that would make that infeasible?
Well, it just doesn't make any sense where everybody has their parcels. The road is at that 16% and continues on that grade up through our neighborhood. So I can't see how you would lessen the grade without cutting it to other people's properties. Another thing about that little area right there is that in the traffic outline that's on here, there's east ingress coming into our subdivision, but there's nothing for us to get out onto that busy road during high volumes of traffic. So unless there was some sort of a merge lane like they just put in down below at the Dry Creek area, I can't really see how adding 300 plus. I mean, the average house has 2 cars per household, so 600 cars, say 300 of them come out of there. I just don't see how that would make it any safer. So,
Any additional questions? Thank you so much for your testimony. Yes, ma'am, in the far back. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
My name is Rachel Artner. I live at 7624 North Basin Way. Thank you for your time tonight. One of my main concerns as a neighbor in the Spring Creek Estates is our water situation. As it currently stands, everybody in our neighborhood, for the most part, has had issues with their wells. We are one of the newer neighbors at 3 years. We have not, but we do have a low rate per minute for our well as it stands. We have not been contacted by Mr. Kine or any of his team members about bringing water access to our home. And another thing that we are terrified of is this extra traffic. As it stands, we need a northbound and a southbound turn lane with the current population of our neighborhood. Now we're talking about adding 300 plus homes in that area. We are asking for disaster. We are just setting ourselves up for somebody to be killed, or, multiple people. And even a light being added at that location could be dangerous because you have the southbound traffic coming out of the canyon at high rates of speed. And if we did have a light there, I would even have concerns of if we're going to have rear-end accidents. I know there is, I think, talk of having that 2-lane 55 at Spring Creek expanded to 4 lanes at some point. I think that also needs to be brought up. What is the game plan when that does happen to protect us as residents? Our neighborhood, Spring Creek Estates, is an existing neighborhood of estate-sized lots, averaging 4.13 acres. The proposed density of 306 homes on the east side do not match the surrounding rural estate lots. This type of development should be proposed on virgin land with similar surrounding density, maybe an open field. Is it appropriate for the golf course to be accounted for as open space? It's a separate entity, guys. Why are we allowing the golf course to dictate that this is an okay density for the area? It's a separate entity. I know Mr. Kine has stated that the golf course will stay, but if the golf course is rezoned, I do believe with the current price of land, why wouldn't any developer shut down the golf course at a later date and develop homes or commercial space? There needs to be something in writing that says he cannot do that legally binds him to the golf course stays. I don't think it's realistic for all of us to be expected to drive all the way to Brookside, and that is already going to clog up an already dense populated area at that location. Please, think about this. We live on estate-sized lots. We live in a beautiful wildlife corridor. We are worried about water, we're worried about fire, and the infrastructure. Please rethink this, and please look into Mr. Kine and his past actions. He cannot be trusted here. Thank you for your time.
Any questions? No. Thank you so much for your testimony. Just gentleman in the red and white shirt. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Tim Britton. I live at 8075 West Spring Creek Road. I agree with all of my neighbors about the water and the traffic and everything else, and mostly since I'm the only property that someone's here on that's actually abutting the medium Disney land, I don't want to live next to duplexes. That's pretty much all I've got to say.
Any questions? All right. Thank you so much. Oh, please stop and sign in at the corner. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, in the green right there. Please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
I'm Heather Schultz, 4706 West Schaefer Meadow Lane, Boise. One thing, I agree with all of the opposition, and you guys are probably bored of hearing about the water at this point. You can't really tell from this map. I don't know if you guys have physically been to the property, but it is a hill. It's a foothill. Here in Boise, we're not even allowed to walk on the foothills if it rains. So it feels shocking to me that we're proposing development on a protected resource that we have. I would really encourage you guys, before you make any decisions and modifications, to go to the site and see what it actually looks like geographically. That's it.
Any questions? No. All right, thank you so much for your testimony. All right, who else? Yes, gentleman in the blue right there. Please state your name and address, and you'll have 3 minutes.
Hello. J. Clive Jordan, 16110 Basin Way. So in 2013, there was a study done for improving the infrastructure around there. And it called for a consulting group called Northwest Foothills Traffic Impact Study. Among other things, it calls for 4 lanes of traffic from Beacon Light to Avamore. And it would cost a few $100 million, and it was supposed to be completed by 2035. But, you know, the land has grown, the population has grown a lot since then. And as other people have said here, if you go in that area on a Friday night, especially in the summer, but in the winter too, or a Sunday night, you will see. Hopefully you already know. So I oppose this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No? Thank you so much. Yes, just please sign in. Anyone else? Yes, ma'am, in the white. State your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes for your testimony.
Good evening. My name is Saxon Popple. My residence is 8400 West Spring Creek Way. My home, our home, is there are only 2 homes between our home and Highway 55. The grade is almost impassable on ice at the point of our home and up the hill to the place where the subdivision would propose the road for us to exit. I believe that the most of the people in the new development would defer to come down past our house, and I believe everybody in the subdivision and most of the people in the new development would opt for the same, and the highway is not wide enough. Our home sits exactly at the point that it meets the regulation for the distance from the highway. The home on the opposite side of the street from us is the same way. There's no more road to widen without moving 2 homes. Pulling out onto the highway, Highway 55, to make a left turn, we depend on the intersection light at Avamore and the intersection light at Brookside. The delay helps us find a space to pull out, and from what I understand, there are plans to change that traffic light in Avamore to make a constant flow of traffic, something on the lines of a roundabout, so that there's not going to be a gap in traffic for us to pull out. I would like to know if the development is going to be the cart before the horse or the horse before the cart. Is the road access to Brookside going to be available to us if we have to use it first before the homes are built, or the homes going to be built accessing this strip of Spring Creek Way to get it built? Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Any questions? And also just, yeah, please sign in as well. Anyone else? Yes, sir, in the jacket there. Please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Russell Fair, and I reside at 4706 West Schaefer Meadow Lane. For all the reasons that have previously been mentioned, I just want to mention that I oppose this project.
Okay. Thank you so much. Please sign in. Anyone else? Yes, sir, in the red or pink or peach shirt. Coral. Salmon. In the manly shirt. Manly cool shirt.
Jason Ford, I live at 1162 North Echo Hawk Way in Eagle. I represent my wife and some kids. We live just south of this project. We have parents in Avamore. We drive the corridor often, and it is busy enough as it is. I'm also an airline pilot, and the hardest part of my job is driving from Eagle to the airport. The problem we have is too many people and not enough roads. This development exacerbates that problem. So I strongly stand in opposition, and thank you.
Thank you. All right, anyone else? Yes, sir, in the neon shirt. You got to remember what you wore today.
My name is Bob Rigglesworth. I live at 8482 West Spring Creek Way, Garden City, Idaho 83714. I'm on that map there. I'm the first home on Spring Creek Way off Highway 55. So I would like to reiterate the point of how steep that grade is going up there. My neighbor, which is the house next to me, the second home, can't get up to his home. He has, cars, and when we get significant snow, you can't get up that. And he parks them in my driveway because I let him because of that. So you almost need to have a truck, a four-wheel drive, if the weather gets like that, to get up that. So I'm just trying to explain a little bit about how steep, winding, and narrow that road is. More importantly, I think, is with the density that we have proposed here, the applicant, it is going to be a nightmare, even though we have access to Spring Creek Way and Brookside Lane. There's no way when you have that many homes going in and you're going out that way that we're not going to already create a nightmare for the existing neighbors and everyone else. I mean, it's a real problem right now. I've been there for almost 30 years at there, and on the holidays, Fridays, Sundays, holidays, it's a nightmare to get out on Highway 55. I think there's going to be, they're going to try to move everything down Brookside Lane, but there's going to be lots of people wanting to go down Spring Creek Way, and it's just going to be a bottleneck right there on the highway. So I think the key is we need to have less density. This isn't fit into the existing neighborhood. The entire neighborhood is against this, the entire neighborhood. We're not against development. We came to this place because we wanted rural residential. That's what we wanted. And we understood that there would be new development, but it should fit into the existing zoning. And so what I'd like to see, that the committee here, the board, the council, commissioners, that we have 4 to 5 acres per home, and it has to be a single-family home on that area in order to make this work and fit into the deal, because it'll solve everything, the water problem, the traffic problem, the wildlife problem. It'll solve all those things, and it's not fair to the neighborhood. For a developer to come in here, wants to make money, great, but he should have to be fit in to the existing neighborhood. Otherwise, it's unfair, and it's an unworkable situation here with, again, several people have noted lots of dry wells in the area. If you don't think this is going to cause a water problem, it is. And the last thing I'd like to say is that if this goes through, we need to have certain that are legally binding on this developer. And one of those things would be, again, that the golf course is going to remain in existence. Great, he doesn't want to change it now, but down the road, you don't think that's what's going to happen as land prices go up? Of course it is. That needs to be legally in this development. The second thing needs to be that he needs to legally make sure that all the neighbors have the right to hook up to this water supply if our wells are impacted. Because it's going to cost us a fortune to fix that ourselves. And why should we bear that burden and that cost? Okay, so there should be legal documents for all the neighbors to sign that he will pay for us to hook up to them if our well becomes dry.
Okay, sir, that's your time is up. Thank you so much
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
testimony. Is there, please sign right there. Is there anyone else? All right, sir in the black, please state your name and address. You have 3 minutes.
Hello, my name's Ryan Stadler. I live at 16015 North Basin Way, which is at the very end of Spring Creek Estates. And I'd just like to agree with my neighbors I'm opposed. I grew up in this neighborhood until I was about a teenager, and I worked really hard to move back here about 10 years ago so that I could be away from this kind of development. I think the density doesn't make any sense for the surrounding homes. I think water's an issue. I don't know the plan for that. I don't know if he plans to sell water or what happens if our wells have problems, which they already do. And yeah, I guess I know this area very well. I know how crazy the road is. My grandparents actually built that golf course, so I've been here my whole life. So basically that's what I'd like to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions? No. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, yes, ma'am. Please state your name and address. You'll have 3 minutes.
Hi, my name is Natasha German. I reside at 16015 North Basin Way, and I agree with everything my neighbors said, and I don't agree with this project. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, seeing no one else raising their hand, we'll go ahead and turn it back over to staff to answer any questions from the commission. Do any commissioners have any questions of staff? Commissioner,
Could you just put up, I think it's, are these on the side, number 5? Just, I want to just look at that. That's it, great. Thank you. That's all. I just want to look at that one for a minute. Go ahead.
I do have some questions if no one else does. Hold on. Just for, I'm going to start from earlier. A question came up about restricting rentals. That's not within our purview, is it? That's like, that. There's a state law against us being able to restrict rentals, correct?
Yeah, Chairman Commissioner's right. There is a state law that regulates or allows jurisdictions to regulate short-term rentals if they so choose, but there's limited regulations they allow. Ada County has not adopted anything that allows the regulation of short-term rentals.
Okay. Did you? Yeah.
I was just going to add to that. The issue, though, is if you have single-family homes that are owned, then those would be rented out as entire units instead of duplexes, which may lend themselves more to be rented out because they're less expensive.
But we can't restrict any of that. It's just, okay.
That's correct.
I got what you're saying then. All right.
Just qualify something. I'm sure you're going to bring this up, but I think most of us have some real estate background here. I was an appraiser for 30 years. So I think when we say duplex, that indicates a rental unit. These are, we call it duet, or they're separately owned. They have a common wall, but they are individually owned, not one entity owning both of those units. It's not a duplex. I guess you could, unless you want to use duplex as a design style, but duet, individually owned units. So that we're maybe using the right language here and not causing some confusion.
I guess the question comes up though, is what stops them from becoming duplexes? Like, we can call that right now, but then someone just buys both of them and then rents them out. How does that?
It's the same as if you buy two
Yeah, it's just like buying two houses. I got you. I'm just saying, yeah. I mean, I got you. Okay. I just want, what, can you just give a brief overview of what the engineer said about the water situation again? Do you know anything like specifically, did they see major problems or did they see anything with regard to water and the engineer?
Yeah, Chairman, Commissioners, I can pull up the comments from the county engineer. I mean, I believe there are some conditions placed on the project that are going to require them to prove adequacy, and ultimately it is the Idaho Department of Water Resources that has to grant the permits for the well. You might have to give me a second to pull that up if you want to ask any other questions.
Yeah, sure. I mean, while you're pulling it up, because I don't think my other questions have need stuff like that. Do you know, with regard to the fire, I vaguely remember hearing that Eagle Fire and the Bureau of Land Management are placing a fire station off North or East Beacon Light and Horseshoe Bend. They announced it like in March, I think, to be opened in 2026. Do you know anything about that?
Chairman, Commissioner, I believe there's a new fire station proposed down by the Chevron on Highway 55, and I think that's near the intersection of Beacon Light Road and Highway 55. That's my understanding. There, Dry Creek Ranch had a site reserved for a fire station, and ultimately the fire district opted to go with that station location further down Highway 55. But to my knowledge, that's it's under construction or going to start construction very soon.
Okay, so there is a bit of fire help going in over there then, okay.
Yeah.
Let me see here. That's for the applicant. That's for the applicant. And then has ACHD said, I know they came in with their normal, we generally have no problem with this, and then we also want them to eventually make the highway nicer. Did they come in with anything about the grade on this thing? Or they say any problems or it's fine for this new development situation?
Chairman Commissioners, ACHD is well aware of the Spring Creek Estates roads. That there is a very long history. They were built privately, and then there was a big fight to eventually get not a fight, but a big request that they eventually become public roads. So ACHD finally took them on, but they definitely don't meet standards today in terms of what ACHD would require out of a new road in terms of grade, width, several other things. In terms of improvements to that, I can again pull up their letter here in a second and give you some more specifics, but
I can look it up.
I don't mind.
I'll search one, but I'm not, like I said, I'm just, my point is my concern is we generally defer to the experts, so I just want to make sure that the experts were consulted.
Yes, Chairman Commissioner, all commenting agencies have reviewed the project. They have provided conditions or terms of approval. For example, the ITD has a warrant permit for those future turn lanes and other improvements they're requesting the applicant to make. Oh, I don't know why we lost our. Oh, it's coming back. All right, give me a sec. Maybe I'll find it.
It's honestly, it's fine. It's not a huge deal. I actually pulled it up on mine.
Okay.
Search, so I'm good with that. So, yeah, that's really all I had. Did anyone else have any questions for staff? No. All right, Commissioner Wickstrom.
It may have covered this a little bit, and just reading through. For phase 2, there's going to be more specifics, more involved. Can you just briefly cover that?
Yes, yeah, Chairman Commissioner. So the as mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, phase one of this is the 10,000-foot view of, is it appropriate to site a planned community of this scale and type in general in this area? Phase two is the implementation phase, where we actually nail down the development standards for the project. There will be a tighter look at density, lot sizes. There's typically a preliminary plat included with that phase two, so that we can actually see, here's what those recorded lots will look like and how the road will be provided and function. So yeah, right now we're at 10,000-foot level. Phase two is really getting boots on the ground and like, how are you going to build this thing? When we receive a building permit for you, what are you going to be held to? That's really the phase two part of this.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Letson.
Any additional questions? All right, we'll go ahead and invite the applicant back up for the rebuttal. You'll have 5 minutes for your rebuttal, and then obviously there'll probably be some questions. I know I have some.
Kirsten Dietrich, planning consultant. I'm just going to double back on kind of clarifications through public testimony and also questions that commissioners asked. And then Larry will receive any questions from you. So in terms of traffic, it's really important that we understand that like we are not in control of the roadways. ACHD and ITD are in control of the roadways and the highway. So Spring Creek, as Leon mentioned, has some historical issues and with driveways tied into it. So those houses exist at that grade. We can't go rebuild that road, and it's not our purview to do such. If those agencies require us to make roadway improvements, that would be identified for us in phase two. So members of the public, I hear the concern, and I've driven on those roads that are icy and snowy and all those things. Those complaints truly need to go to ACHD's commissioners and ITD's commissioners, because those are the folks that need to hear it and implement the change. We were made aware of opposition barbecue, and we offered to go to that barbecue to answer any questions from homeowners. We copied staff on that to make sure that it was part of the record. And so it is in your staff report that we offered to go to that meeting. We also clarified some issues with, that we saw on their petition and online posting about number of units and high density, and we clarified what our application said. We said to them, if you have questions, input, or simply want to talk things through, we genuinely welcome the opportunity to connect with you directly, provided our community phone number and the community email. We don't have people's individual emails or phone numbers to contact them directly. The only way we have to do that is by noticing in the newspaper standard public posting rules. So that email went to Ms. Artner and Mr. or Mrs. Jordan, who gave testimony.
Please refrain from speaking out.
It's a member, and I fully understand that maybe people something went to junk mail or it didn't go to the right email address if it was written in handwriting in a neighborhood meeting. But that letter and our offer to attend that meeting is in your record. And staff can attest to that. Let's see here. So, at this point, it's like, there's a lot of back and forth. There's folks that obviously don't want the development. The task at hand is this land suitable for development? And then a lot of these details that we're covering really need to be addressed in the phase two of the application. The waivers, just doubling back on the application process, the waivers that we asked for are specific to lowering the density. I think we're all clear on that now. The standard public service offerings that we have to provide in a planned community are municipal water service, sewer service. We have to confirm service of fire and police and schools via agreements. And those are all in place. So it is Eagle Fire. The subdivisions would have hydrants with adequate fire flow in those subdivision areas. And, response time would be by Eagle Fire. And the nearest response time location is approximately 10 minutes from the east side. Obviously, our development would not put hydrants in their subdivision if they don't already exist. It's only providing new infrastructure in the new subdivision. So In regards to the streets, this roadway, I'm glad that graphic is up because, so we have two streets with kind of the same name. On the north end, the top of the screen, that is a public roadway that's steep and has a maintenance agreement with ACHD, but that's where folks are referencing it's icy, it's snowy, all that. The south side, coming off of Brookside, the purple line, that road is a private road that currently has no maintenance agreement. So with our project, we will resolve that. Let's see here. Again, for fire on the west side, part of the project would install a secondary fire access. We talked about that in the first public hearing. And then there was one public comment that was very smart, that she asked, will we build the road through before the houses are built? Will the houses be built first and then the road? That kind of thing is something that can be informed and conditioned in phase 2 of our application. So if and when we hope this moves forward in our next application, those are the types of things that would be determined by the plat. I would request an additional 5 minutes so that Larry can field any comments of the chairman.
Oh,
Commissioner Scott.
Yeah, when we do questions, the timer shuts off, so don't worry
Okay.
about that. So.
Okay.
All right. Does
I'll
anyone?
let Larry take questions from you guys.
Okay. Does anyone have
you.
any questions? You can go ahead and come forward because I know I do. So, does anyone have any questions? All right. So, heard the website wasn't working. What's the website's address? Do you know? I have a computer right here. I can easily see if the website's working or not.
I think it's shadowvalleypc.com
And I know this is going to have to go on the record.
or let me look.
Oh, we can.
I just want to make sure.
Stand by.
Yeah, no worries.
So it's shadowvalleyplannedcommunity.com. And essentially, it's a splash page that shows our hearing schedule with our contact information at the bottom.
Okay. All right. I just wanted to make sure. So, all right. Now, so I guess a question I have, and this is a phase 2 question, but I'm curious anyways. With regard to the density, that's like seems to be the majority of the problems that are coming up, other than obviously water and traffic. But does this become untenable if you lower the density somewhat from where you're currently standing? Obviously, not the one across 55, the one near the golf course. Is that something that you'd be willing to consider as a phase 2 situation, so it's not as, I mean, maybe even less dense than a Dry Creek situation to alleviate some of the concerns?
Absolutely. I think we would be willing to go look at that. When we started this process, that was highly discouraged by staff for a planned community. And I think Leon addressed that earlier, that's not, then you're turning into a residential subdivision, not a planned community. Yeah. And so that's why we're at where we're at today. But, if we were doing 1 acre parcels there, that probably wouldn't bother me at all. There's just not a path in the current Ada County code, to my understanding, talking with Leon, to get there.
So one note on that, DEQ regulates the septic systems in that kind of a setting. So you're asking roughly for 30 homes to be, if say they're 4 acre lots, that's 30 homes that would have individual wells and individual septic systems. And DEQ very much is trying to get the county away from that.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that would, DEQ and the health district are who regulate that.
So yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how to squeeze in between a rock and a hard spot here. So,
Yeah,
I mean,
Chairman and Commissioners, I mean, again, a 1 acre lot development is ultimately the board's decision, and whatever you recommend, they can go with or not. I highlighted the standards of the planned community because, there are some pretty specific standards in there about what we're trying to achieve, and from a development pattern wise, when someone applies for a planned community. And so I think that's the conversation the applicant's referencing early on, is that, we can't just plat this as 1 acre lots everywhere. That really doesn't achieve the planned community standards as identified in Ada County Code. That being said, you and the board could say 1 acre lots is what we want out here and go make it happen. And I guess it would be up to the applicant to figure out if that wastewater system and community water system still makes sense at that number of housing units, because it certainly changes their numbers, I would imagine.
I would think also if we did that, then the water system and the wastewater wouldn't be needed.
And and again, so now we're out of compliance with another section of the planned community that doesn't allow homes all on individual well and septic. The idea is urban public facilities serving urban style development. So again, it has to be considered within the box of a planned community.
My concern is it's definitively not urban up there. I mean, that's where my concern comes in. And I think the people have a valid argument in that. I don't think we need to be like 4-acre, 5-acre rural residential, but if you're telling me the wiggle room is self-inflicted, perhaps there is some, but then again, you're right. It becomes, do they start pulling wells? Do they start doing all this stuff? So yeah, no, I got you. I'm just kind of spitballing here to try to find an agreeable situation for everyone here, so.
I mean, could they have?
I'm sorry, we unfortunately have closed.
We'll have more opportunity for the board.
Yeah, there's going to
public hearing
be,
as well, so.
yeah, per the decorum rules, we're not allowed to have any additional comment from the public at this point. My apologies. So, okay. That was just a question. I guess the bottom line question is it sounds like you're willing to explore potentially that. We'll have to obviously work at the rules and such. I understand that. I'm trying to find a middle ground here so that it's not a blanket denial or a blanket approval without a bit of give here, so.
Yeah, we got where we're at by the existing code.
Yeah, okay. All right, any additional questions? All right, I see no other questions. Commissioner
I'm
Wickstrom?
sorry, I'm trying to frame my question. So with the whole idea of abandoning the planned community zoning, would that be something that you could walk away from and go into a more traditional residential development?
Well, like what we said, the Ada County Code doesn't get us there. So it's go to 10-acre parcels on the whole thing, which is your guys' prerogative or whatever, or the code currently as it's written. Sounds like Leon says you can do whatever you want. That's nice to know, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that you could do,
It's more complex.
I don't want to speak too much here, but again, at the end of the day, the density style layout of the development is the final decision of the board. There's obviously waivers built into the code that allow a lot of flexibility. My point was it doesn't meet the intent of a planned community if
Yeah.
we get that far away from urban public facilities and density.
I think that's the idea, is perhaps a planned community. Our code restricts it. It's either a planned community or a giant lot subdivision. And that's the concern, is maybe somewhere between there we can land. I don't know. And it would be on the big board to decide probably on that.
The other, and I am open to that. I'm just saying part of that conversation then what are you creating there? Just big estates for just people that have a significant amount of money, or, I don't know. There's pros and cons on both sides. I totally get it. I am open to less dense. I thought I already was less dense. That's why I have the waiver.
Yeah.
But, yeah. And one other thing that I would just go say is, to help get clarification, a gentleman made a very good point about the nets and where the wildlife corridors were coming through. But a good clarification of what that is that corridor gets them to the golf course. Once they get to the golf course, they can go anywhere along that whole ridge of the golf course to get across Highway 55. So yes, the net does block that, but that is a very small, significant portion of the whole frontage along that property for the golf course, for wildlife to travel back and forth. And if you look at what's already approved out there, we're around 2% of the traffic of what's already approved. Not consisting of the existing traffic that's already traveling. So the traffic, I get it. I am hearing loud and clear, and I've seen it for myself. It's a zoo out there, and I know they don't want the development. I get that also. I do believe that if it goes through, the traffic for those people will be better, and I can't imagine very many people thinking to go up to the northern portion of that, the uphill portion of that, to exit. I think most people are always going to go down to Brookside because it's a completely controlled intersection.
Is there So, separate question, is there a potential that you could move your bus yard so it doesn't impact current residents? And because this is something that has been kind of put on you by West Ada. I know what is this part of the school planned community thing, which might not be a problem once it's not a planned community. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge if we need to. But would you be willing to move that bus thing? Because there is a concern that, the backup lights, the startup, and having 4 kids, I know that the buses run at like 5 in the morning. Is there a way to move that within your thought process?
I'll go. She's trying to interrupt me. As that gentleman was actually talking, I was like, I wouldn't like that either. And there's not a lot of great places on there because there's a lot of topography, and they want to be very close and access to, being able to go travel. Because what they're really trying to do is save down on miles for their buses. But with that in mind, I'm assuming everybody knows and is driven by Shadow Valley Golf Course. And so you've seen that big triangle piece that's just bare dirt out there. That's where we're going to have our wastewater treatment facility, and we're going to move our maintenance yards to that area. And so we would possibly be able to go put that over there if the school district was interested in allowing it to be on that location. What that does is there'll be a frontage road that goes along there in the plans, along the Highway 55, and come back up to the existing entrance of Shadow Valley Golf Course, and then that goes out that way. The disadvantage of that is that's not a controlled intersection, so it's a little bit more dangerous, but that's probably the only next best place for it to be. Otherwise, the location we put it was, I think, the best of what was available for what they're requesting, and we are going to be doing some berming along there to create some buffer, but I don't know that it'll stop at all.
Yeah. Okay. Any additional questions? All right. Thank you both so much for your time. We appreciate it. With that being said, I'm going to close the public hearing or public testimony portion of the meeting with respect to this project, and I'm going to open up the floor to a fellow commissioner for a motion in favor or against, and then we'll discuss. Commissioner Birch.
Based upon the findings of fact and conclusions of law contained herein and the testimony at this public hearing, this commission recommends denial of project number 202-402-701-PC-CPA to the Board of County Commissioners.
We have a motion from Commissioner Birch. Do we have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Murphy has seconded. Commissioner Birch, would you like to speak on your motion?
Sure. I mean, what we're trying to do with the PUD is pound a square peg into a round hole. With all the waivers, it is not really a PUD. And so what really needed to be done was to approach the project with respect to change in zoning. Because, I mean, I've been keeping count both of what the people who have testified have said and the letters that we've received, and it's density, as well as the traffic, which relates directly to density. And then there's also the water issue and the wildlife corridor, which I know absolutely nothing about, and so I won't speak to it. If this property had never been developed, and this was the very first application for Shadow Valley when it was initially built, and it was proposed as it is today, I would have supported it. But it's not. There's already all sorts of homes around there that were built on the basis of the existing zoning. And so those people, as one of the people giving comments tonight said, have soaked a significant amount of their life savings into the homes there. And I do see this as having an undue adverse impact upon the surrounding properties. The concession that Mr. Klein talked about regarding the golf course, I think would be significant. But I would point out, one could not expect somebody to run a golf course that was not profitable. And so even if the developer said, yes, I will enter into a legal agreement that the golf course will always stay that way, they're not going to agree to enter into an agreement that they will keep running something that's not profitable. And so that agreement would have to provide that the golf course property would probably be turned over to somebody else to be used as a golf course, and the neighborhood would have to commit to doing it. Again, my concern here is the density and the traffic, and people are going to get killed out there. I mean, I remember when the Perfect family was killed there at Beacon Light in '55, and it was a terrible thing. It's going to happen, but that's part of the increase in development and population. I just don't think this is the right fit. I think what the developer ought to do is come back, and when this goes before the Board of County Commissioners, you're going to have the same people showing up, probably more, to oppose this. And the best thing would be to come back with a proposal that says, here is what we're going to do to minimize the density. We're not going to have any duplexes there, and we're going to have properties on X number of acres. And so that's why I oppose it. Again, I wouldn't oppose it if this were the proposed project at the outset, but it's not. And all these people here are basically saying, do not put something like that where we already live, and I support them in that.
Please refrain from clapping, thank you. Commissioner Murphy, would you like to speak to your second?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yeah, the planned communities, we're obviously in the two-step application process. The purpose is to analyze the existing condition and site and regional impacts from the proposed development to determine the appropriateness of the location and feasibility in the area. And of course, Title 887E14, growth is in the proposed planned community subarea will not adversely impact existing regional conditions is one of the conditions. And if you look at, what are there 5 planned communities out there? There's Cartwright Ranch, Hidden Springs, Avamore, Dry Creek, Spring Rock, and they're all kind of out in the woods. And by in the woods, I just mean not surrounded completely by other existing entities, houses or golf courses, et cetera. Room to grow. It makes sense there. I mean, I even like the northern, which I guess they call the west lot up there. I think that makes sense. But shoving, this kind of low density, and I realize density for this particular, planned community is better than most. It's still insufficient, in regards to what the density of rural residential is. And I just think that the trying to force this thing with all the issues that it would create down here, right in between there, it just does not make sense, does not help the community. I would be open, as Commissioner Birch said, to a 1 acre, 2 acre, something that fit into the community. Because when you get people who are living next to each other, who have completely different lifestyles like that, you're also going to get, adverse reactions. You're going to have some people who are into the golf carting thing and some people who are into the horsing thing, and you're shoving them right next to each other there. And I don't think that would be good for the community either. But like I said, it's a beautiful area. I've been up there many times, seen the traffic, all that kind of stuff. But I think for this particular community, I don't think it's logical at all. But anyway, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Commissioner Murphy. Anyone else have any comments? Commissioner Colson?
To be honest, I really like the project. I think it's a good project. I think it's good idea around the golf course. But I also hear public testimony, and from a guy that also has 14 acres out in the middle of away from everybody. I also have 2 planned communities coming in behind me. So, I mean, there are 6,000 homes going to be built around me. Now, again, that's their property rights. I mean, that's their land. That's what they can choose to do with. Do I think that this is considered of what staff has brought as far as the application in a planned community. Yeah, the density is way lower than what a planned community would normally be. That planned community, if you're looking at the acres alone, it's 1,600 homes. And he is trying to take it down to 300. Now, looking and hearing the testimony, I think I would really recommend, if we can, find a way with staff that I think 1 acre lots would be an ideal thing. I think 2 acres, no, I think 1 acres is a happy medium for both parties. I do believe something should be done here. I believe it is a gem as far as that golf course. Played the golf course numerous times. It's a great piece of recreation for everybody. Now, I also think that, something could be there, There's nothing that says later on and a national company comes and buys the whole thing and says, yeah, no, we're gonna put 1,600 homes. I think he's willing to work, and hearing him saying that there's willing to be low density, I think it just has to find a way with the board and the staff to be able to find a way inside that planned community or whatnot to be able to get these to like a 1 acre lot, in my opinion. So unfortunately, as the way it is, yeah, I'm gonna lean towards denial, but ultimately, like if this was out by me, I would probably say yes. And I'm a guy that's in your guys' pain. So, but I'm firmly a guy that believes in property rights as well. And there's nothing that says if all 30 of you guys decide to sell all your land and decide to, as together as a venture, and turn around and say, okay, we're gonna develop it and we're gonna put 3 houses to an acre to everybody's thing. I mean, there's nothing that stops that, from, you guys have property rights. So my biggest thing is if there's a way that we could find it to get it to 1 acres or maybe 0.75, somewhere in there, I think it's a good thing. Now, I am gonna talk, because I am in the construction industry, the duplex thing is, I think it's getting a little bit blown out of proportion. There's nothing that says that he can just turn around and, you know what, I'm gonna go with a 2.5 foot lot line adjustment, and I'm gonna have 5 feet in between the 2 houses. I'm just shortening the houses 2.5 feet on each side. And you're gonna have basically the same thing. So, I mean, I'm not, that part really doesn't bother me, but it'd be, going to the 1 acres would negate that. So anyways, that's my opinion.
Thank you, Commissioner Colson. Anyone else? All right, so,
Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Murphy?
I'm sorry, could I
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
say one thing? Like Commissioner Colson, I'm a private property staunch supporter. But there have been issues where claimants purchase land that is subject, and I've said this before, to zoning limitations with the intent to seek a modification of those limitations. That's a business risk that is accepted, that the limitations will remain in place or only be partially modified. So yes, private property, but if you buy something zoned rural residential, it's not a guarantee or a right for it to be zoned another way. So I just wanted to clarify that as well.
Again, please stop clapping. Have decorum. We have these rules in place for a purpose. Anyone else have any comments? All right. So I'm leaning in the same direction as Commissioner Colson myself. Personally, I'm fine with duplexes. They're not as, I have duplexes near my house, and my house is 3,400 square feet, and it's not a big deal. So, but I also, it kind of is a bad situation in that I understand staff has to operate within the confines of the code, and so a planned community made the most sense here. I know that there can be waivers for pretty much anything, and I think, as Commissioner Colson said, 1 acre lots make a lot of sense here. Unfortunately, that really is not a planned community. So we're really stuck between, like I said, 10 acres and a planned community. somewhere in between that, I think, is where we can land. And if that comes back where, let's say the Board of County Commissioners deny this, I would encourage the applicant to come back, even if staff recommends a denial because it's outside of the purview of a planned community or whatever. I think this board would disagree with staff by saying, yeah, 1 acre lots make sense here. I think 1 acre lots are fine. And maybe that eliminates some of the pressure on them to have a bus lot and such. I'm not a big fan of saying, hey, the code might not be the best situation here, but we clearly have a gap. And this is a situation where there is I think we're in a problematic thing where a planned community, I personally don't think works here, even if it's a lower density planned community. But I think, again, something does fit here. I think you can have something where, as the developer has said, they are willing to put something here in an even lower density, and at that point, it brings it closer to what the community looks like. So it's really, really difficult for me to want to deny this, but I'm denying it because I know all of these are phase 2 problems too, as Leon said, but I'm denying it because I don't want to go down a road of planning. I want to be able to stop it here and try to reroute it in a way that makes more sense for everyone. Get the developer their property, but also make it fit more of the style of the location and things like that. So staff does a great job, but they have to work within the confines of the code, unfortunately. We have the ability to kind of step out a little bit. The board definitely has the ability to step out and adjust. That's the humanity of the process. So I just wanted to state that I feel for the developer. Unfortunately, I don't think this is what it looks like, but I do what should go here. But I do think something should go here. And if they come back with a 1 acre per lot plan, I probably would be all for that for sure. So, Commissioner Birch.
So I agree generally with what both you and Commissioner Colson have said, although a 1 acre lot does not fit with what the existing community has in the general area. And so hopefully between now and the Board of County Commissioners meeting where this comes up, there can be a discussion between the property owners that are in the surrounding area and actually meeting with the developer and having them come up with something that seems reasonable enough that when it's presented to the Board of County Commissioners, the Board of County Commissioners would look at it and say, yeah. It may not be perfect, it may not be exactly what the developer wants, it may not be exactly what the neighbors want, but it's close enough. And so you have the lot sizes that maybe are average for what's around it, and those aren't going to be 1 acre lots. They're going to be, 2-3 acre lots or bigger. And if you have lots that size, then the homes that are going to be built on those lots are going to be substantial homes because the cost of those lots is going to be very high. And so the homes that will be built will be consistent with what the other neighbors already have, and it will improve the neighborhood and likely improve the value of the surrounding neighbors' homes and their quality of life.
Any additional comments? My only suggestion for the 1 acres is because, you've got Dry Creek, and those are definitively not 1 acre lots. Those are small lots, so it's kind of an average of the big lots with Dry Creek's neighborhood style. So I thought maybe that 1 acre was a happy medium. And again, we're kind of just pontificating at this point. But yeah, so any additional comments at all? All right, with that being said, I'll go ahead and bring the Commissioner Birch's motion to a vote, to vote for denial to the Board of County Commissioners. All those in favor of Commissioner Birch's motion say aye.
Aye.
Chair, just before, sorry.
Yeah,
We'll need to table it for revised
yeah,
findings.
I was gonna-
For you to review the.
Yeah, I'll let everyone know. I like to tell everyone.
Yeah, no worries, okay.
No worries. Are you going to Idaho Power yet? Leon? No.
September 11th would be the date. and-
So,
Good on that.
before that, all those opposed, I see none. So the motion carries. That being said, because we're going against the staff's recommendation, we will have to table this for findings. It doesn't mean the vote changes whatsoever. The vote still stands. However, it's going to be tabled, and then at our next meeting, we're just going to approve the revised findings. Y'all don't have to come back or anything for that. So I just want to be clear, there's a lot of confusion that once we table this, you think that we're kind of skirting or something. So with that being said, I need a motion to table this for revised findings for staff to.
Just part of his motion.
No, it's got to be separate. It's got to be a separate one.
You can go
because-
either way,
Oh.
whatever works best for you.
Well, we've already voted on it, so, yeah, so I need a motion to table to September 12th, you said?
September 11th.
September 11th.
Yeah, we're gonna get it right.
All right, yeah. Motion to table to the September 11th hearing. Commissioner Birch.
Chairman Scott, I move that we table this matter till the September 11th, 2025 hearing, so staff has time to revise the report to reflect a denial of the project.
I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wickstrom has seconded. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
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 Say aye. All those opposed? Seeing none. Thank you so much to everyone for your participation. It was a late night. This will go before the Board of County Commissioners at some point in the future, so please show up for that as well. With that, there are no more items for business. I'll turn it over to, we do have to do the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from last,
Mr. Chair,
Commissioner Murphy?
I move that we approve the minutes of the Ada County P&Z Commission public hearing that was held on July 17th at 6 p.m.
I have a motion for Commissioner Murphy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Commissioner Wickstrom has seconded. All those in favor of approving the minutes, say aye.
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 I also say aye. I think Commissioner.
abstain 'cause I was not here.
Commissioner Rowley and Commissioner Colson will have to abstain because they weren't here, so. All right, that is it. Turn it over to Leon for his last time briefing us.
Yeah, I'll do it from here since I didn't bring a hard copy tonight, and I can let them clear out here in a sec. All right, I can talk loud. So, not a super exciting night at the board last night.
Ladies and gentlemen, can you just please funnel out? We still have to do some things.
Yeah, folks, please head to the lobby.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
All right, we'll go from here. Again, not a super exciting night. We had a 12-unit multifamily development out there on Lake Hazel and Maple Grove. They requested a board-level time extension. Sounds like that project's changing ownership, and they've had some trouble getting it built. I think a lot of this P&Z remembers that project back in the day. That was ultimately approved. There was a rezone and development agreement, preliminary plat, property boundary adjustment, and a private road. Did involve one of our commissioners' properties, so he doesn't have to recuse himself, but it was approved by the board last night. So 2-lot subdivision out there near Commissioner Colson's house. And then we had some master site plan for a contractor's yard. Also had a variance involved that was ultimately approved. Right, Richard? Pretty sure that one was approved. Sorry. It's all been a blur the last couple of days. And then finally, there was a vacation of some easements, property boundary adjustment, accessory use request, and a variance to combine 2 5-acre lots into a single 10-acre lot. So kind of a unique use of the variance. And the reason being is substantial conformance doesn't allow you to adjust a platted lot greater than 25%. Obviously, putting 2 of those together, you've exceeded the 25% rule. So that was approved as well. And I'll stand for any questions.
So I guess, I'm assuming whatever the board decides on this, likely either way, Is it correct what I said? I would hope they would come back. I mean, I understand that the code is like it really does create two stopgaps, but there's, I think, a weird middle ground there.
I mean, there is, our code was written intentionally to, the big thing is that municipal level services, primarily for water and sewer, are probably the number one challenges for those projects. And as you've seen, we've had some requests to R1 in areas that staff's like, hey, you don't have the facilities here, you can't go that intense. You guys said yes to it, and the board ultimately said yes to it. Certainly could be an outcome here. It does puts the leadership in a weird spot to have to move that far outside of what we think the code says. And so planned community here was the idea, and it was, you saw the waivers they requested.
Yeah,
it dropped the density way below what we normally require. And in comparison to Dry Creek Ranch to the south, they actually have multifamily that's incorporated into that project. Although that's been a bit of a fight with the existing residents there already. The idea of a planned community is that it's diverse, it's self-supporting as much as possible, and it's not individual well and septic. At a high level, that's kind of what we're trying to achieve out of these developments. But I agree with you. There is kind of like this, if you're in the area of impact, you can do slightly smaller lots, down to 5 acres. This one's outside of the area impact, so you're right, 10 acres is kind of the minimum. And yeah, there's really not a good middle gear, I guess, for lack of a better way to describe it.
Why does Boise chime in? Is it just out of courtesy from us?
It's just, I think, standard protocol for any planned community. They've historically always said, don't do it.
I'd be like, stay in your lane.
So I would think that the reason that there were all the waivers is without those waivers, it would have been dead on right.
Absolutely, yeah.
And because financially, it wouldn't have been feasible. And the outcry would have been way worse than this. When you have a room full of people that are unanimously opposed, well, how much worse could it get?
Yeah, and Chair, we might want to adjourn the meeting if you want to continue that discussion. So,
I figure that's implied. Adjourned.
all right, so Kyle, we adjourned. If you didn't already get that, okay.